Welcome in, welcome in. I love fish. I love fish too. I gotta go fishing this weekend or something. It's supposed to be super hot, so I don't know though. I prefer to go on a day where it's not like you know, super hot. Welcome in, Samantha. I am doing a stream. I'm doing a regular stream and a horizontal stream, as you can see. So the chat's more popping on the other stream, just in case. Just in case you're wondering why I might not be replying to the other one, because I usually don't have that chat up. Probably should, but I need to get. I want to get one of those like things I attach to my computer where I can have both chats up. But right now I don't have that. Hopefully today's better, man, because all those videos I recorded yesterday to edit and upload, yeah, did not turn out. So little mad about that, but today's a new day. Get some new stuff figured out. Got to be on that grind, you know. I have catfish and Daniels and guppies and plexiglass. Nice. I have a lot of fish. Oh, nice. I used to have pet fish, but having pet fish for me turned into having pet reptiles. So I got reptile like bearded dragon, milk snake, Pac-Man frog, and a leopard gecko for my kids. But I'm glad you're back, Samantha. Um, Anyone who's coming in, make sure you guys double tap the screen and show some motherfucking love, man. I appreciate you guys for being here. Uh, I don't know. There's some stuff that I wanted to go over with the David trial, but we'll see. We got the Candace stream I want to go over. I wonder if I'm still logged into Instagram on here. But yeah, all the videos I like uploaded yesterday. uh yeah. No bueno. I go to edit them this morning to upload them, get a little bit get ahead on some work before I get into you know, the stream. And it was just choppy. It was terrible. So I'm wondering if I shouldn't have fixed the FPS. That's what I did. So that's like where we're at right now with that. Why is it show? Hmm. But yeah, so let's get into it, man. Um, a lot of stuff going on with like the David trials. Um, haven't really been getting into it too much, but we're gonna get into it a little bit. Some people have to say, obviously, it's not like recorded inside the court, so we're kind of just getting like what these reporters who are getting in have to say. And Traplore Ross is there. There's also this other guy that I'm following that is coming out of the courtroom and stuff. So I don't know, bro. I guess we can get into the Candace stream as well. What was she talking about? Andrew Colvett blames me for Erica Kirk PR backlash. So we'll get into that. We'll see. And I'm wondering too if the reason why my videos didn't really turn out yesterday is because I am dual streaming. That could be a big reason here. So Might have to not do that, I guess. I don't know. I want a leopard gecko. Hell yeah. I see this guy online who has a pet bass, like a largemouth bass, and he feeds that fucker everything, dude. Like, he puts crawfish in there, he's put other bass in there, and that thing's a monster, dude. I also have follow this guy who has like a pet northern pike, and I would love to have that. That'd be cool. But your boy has too much shit on his hands. When I get rich and I can have someone come over and pay them to take care of some of my shit, I will then get a baby pike. But yeah, man, so today's just gonna be a chill stream. That's how it's been lately. I don't know. I haven't really found anything lately that's like grasped my attention. You know, the David trial did. But then it's like, what are you gonna cover? It only gets to, God, this fucking fly, bro. It only gets to a certain point with the David trial where it's like, okay, we all know everything. We all know about most of the evidence that's being presented. So, you know, I did repost some stuff on Instagram I thought was interesting about it. And I don't know if I can react to it, but Jack Neal did a interview with Andrew Tate before he got arrested, and it was like he must have foreshadowed this coming because, you know, Jack Neal uploaded it particularly on the basis of particularly for the reason he got arrested. He uploaded it like kind of like an emergency upload, like, oh my God, he knew this was gonna happen. We're gonna upload this, and he went through it, or I went through it. I was listening to it the other day, and it was very interesting. It was very interesting to hear what he had to say. And I know him and Sneeko are at odds, and I know he said some shit in the past that looks bad, especially with the whole cam business and the shit he was selling, like the Loverboy method. But I don't know. In my opinion, the first arrest, they had him for how long, and they didn't find anything. If they could have found something, they would have, and they didn't. So he thinks on this interview, he specifically said he feels like he's gonna be killed. I wonder if I can't. Hold on, let me pull it up, because I found it. I found it to be interesting. I hope I should see if I can't because some of these podcast people who are big do not allow you to react to their stuff, right? So, which is understandable. So hopefully it's not that big of a deal if I go over a short. All right, let's go over this quick. Where's the video here?
Would you say it?
How much money could they pay you to shut up?
Some men don't want money, Jack. They just want to watch the world burn. And the world which I want to burn is this corrupt, scumbag, misandric shithole that we've built in these liberal democracies. Every single element of this, the whole...
You know, and they bring up, you know, oh, he had the cam business, he did all this, he did that, and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, yeah, okay, that's cool, that's fine. But you have to give him credit on the premise that he came out the way he did, and he's saying the stuff he did, and he caused a huge movement. He changed the internet. And if he was this cam guy, this fraud, why would he put himself in this position where, you know, the deep state wants him gone, right? They want him dead, or they want him in jail allegedly. And he just, you know, he could have just taken the money he was offered, or he could have just went away and hid. But he's still out here, you know, calling people out. And this is the interview I was talking about. It's very interesting. I would love to go over it on stream, but I'm not sure if I can, or if anyone would, or if I would be taken down for it. But, you know, It's just interesting.
Story I've told is corrupt, head to toe, all of it. We talk about feminism and how women need equal rights.
And in this interview, everything he says is backed up with receipts too.
They have more rights than us in every single metric and regard. More men commit suicide, more men go to jail. Men have the worst lives. We build the roads, we build the buildings, we die in ditches. I don't want money. I want a minister for men's rights in government. I want all.
That's not the one I watched. I want to show you one.
If this is your last podcast,
This is it right here. Watch this.
what is the one thing you want men to remember?
I always, when I was presented with the red pill and the blue pill, I have always my entire life taken the brave choice. At the time of filming of this podcast, I have just rejected their $50 million to drop my case and make all this go away. I just took a brave choice.
So basically, the whole premise on why he was arrested is because they offered him $50 million to drop the school, to drop everything. Just stop talking about everything. Shut your fucking mouth, basically. And he said no. And so now they came and picked him up. They want him extradited from America, and they're trying to get him again. And Jack Neal dropped this podcast. So in my opinion, I think that Tate was smart in doing like a secret podcast that if something happens, you drop this, right?
And now they're all sitting around a table deciding what they can do. I guarantee they're saying, is there anything we can do besides kill him? Or does he want to be in a plane accident? Planes crash, bro. Shit happens. The world moves on. Epstein died. The world's moved on just fine. Shit happens. And I actually think the reason I've said no to them is because if I say yes to them, I think that they may still consider killing me. So what I'm going to do, instead of living this way for the rest of my life, as a king with that sword over my head, I'm going to force a decision. Either I'm going to fucking win, or you're going to kill me.
Well, everyone, this has been your guest, Andrew Tate. This is the Jack Neal Podcast. Appreciate you coming on. Thanks, sir.
Yeah, it's sad, dude. I mean, and everybody like Sneeko was saying, oh, well, he bent the knee. You know, he hasn't been talking about Israel as much, and that's the problem. Like, everybody's so honed in on one problem. Like, Israel's like all that matters. Like, okay, well, maybe he slowed down on that, but he's still going on everything else. And I mean, that's gonna be sad. I hope they don't do nothing to him. I mean, I hope they don't lock him up. They didn't have nothing the first time. And I can't believe that Trump isn't like stopping the, but he's a part of the elite too. Like he's compromised too. So I don't know. But I mean, just like Charlie Kirk, dude, and people may not like Andrew Tate, but he has a large following. He did change a lot of lives, and he did change the internet. And he was a net good for what his message was to smart people. Dumb people got offended all the time. But I don't want to see nothing happen to the guy, man. I mean, that'd be very sad. But just like Charlie Kirk, man, I feel like it would be a bad move on their part to take him out. Because you keep taking out the people that we look up to or that we follow and all this other stuff, you're going to end up having a revolution on your hands. We're not stupid. We know what's going on. So the dumbest thing they could do is take them out, you know? Because it's like, we know you did it. And now we're done with you. We're fed up, you know?
Right, you guys, happy Wednesday. So unsurprisingly, the Daily Mail article of Erica referring to me as a soulless ghoul and a BI backfired. It turns out that most people in the rational world think that someone demonstrating repeat compassion for the man that she believes murdered her husband while displaying repeat anger at the person who's trying to figure out if Tyler actually even did it or if more people were involved, that did not go over so well with the public. So how did they respond? Well, Andrew Colvett, PR disaster, came out of the gate today swinging and attempted to blame me for the article, alleging that I colluded with the Daily Mail journalists to publish the article. In effect, I called myself a BI and a soulless ghoul so that I could then respond to the article on this show. We're talking about the Daily Mail. Go try to find a nice article about me in the Daily Mail, or really anywhere, actually, They are running the PR game, obviously. They've been very favorable to Erica. And I just have to say, that is an Olympic stretch. I mean, the stretchiest stretch of all PR stretches. I am telling you, that man is losing it. Andrew Colvett has officially lost it. That this is going to backfire so badly to pretend that the article was fictionalized, because heads would have to roll. People would have to be fired. They'd be forced to issue a retraction. So before we get into what he attempted to claim before he was, of course, met with a community note on X, we first need to dive back into where we left off on Monday, the term Mormon Mafia. Who and what does that refer to specifically? Today is an episode where you have to take out your notebooks, students, because it is a lot to learn, but it is very important and absolutely fascinating. Welcome back to Candace.
Here come the bots.
All right, so the Mormon Mafia, who among you has even heard of that term? So I gave you the context of my having first heard the term from Courtney Love, of all people, and I genuinely had no idea what she was talking about, what she was referring to. We were talking about Hollywood, and she was then telling me everyone talks about the Zionists, but you have to understand the relationship between the Zionists and the Mormons, controlling everything in Hollywood and music and publishing rights. I was totally confused. I will be clear, however, that in my personal experience, I very much believe there is a Zionist mafia operating, because there always has been one. I think Michael Jackson alluded to that before his death. Kanye West alluded to that after his gym trainer, Harley Pasternak, threatened to drug him and take his children away. What kind of gym trainer writes that kind of stuff? And I have to...
Yeah, we've just been so conditioned as a society to like see this stuff really happen, see it in front of our face, and it's all due to the internet and TikTok brain and all this other stuff. And like we just are like, oh well, it happened, and we don't even talk about it. Like, how does this not cause massive uproar within America? Like, I just don't get how we just let so much shit slide.
But tell you guys,
make sure if you're new to the stream, you double tap the screen, get the likes up, show some love and support. Appreciate you guys for being here.
And this is not even a joke. One of the reasons, among many, that I was fired from the Daily Wire, a specific reason that they listed, was I suggested that there could be a Jewish mafia in Hollywood in my coverage of Michael Jackson's death. It was deemed an anti-Semitic suggestion, the mere suggestion that there could be a Zionist mafia. But actually, it's kind of a simple fact of history that the Jewish mafia started Hollywood. I mean, we covered various aspects of that in our reading of Hollywood Babylon in our book club. But beyond that, Irgun, the underground Jewish terrorist organization that were operating in Palestine, ruthlessly murdering people to ensure that Israel became a nation. They just believed violence was the means to get what they wanted. And when I say murdering people, I don't want you to think that I'm just referring to Palestinians. I mean British people, whoever and whatever was in their way. They were behind the infamous King David Hotel bombing. They loved to use bombs in Jerusalem in 1946. To be clear, the hotel at that time was operating as the British military headquarters in Jerusalem. They just bombed it, killing 91 people in one go in 1946. And yes, that gang came to America and manifested here. The Zionist gang became known as the Stern Gang. And they kept up political lobbying and bombings, which made its way all the way to the White House. Check out this article about what they did to President Harry S. Truman. This is a headline in the New York Times. It reads, "Letter bombs mailed to Truman." And it tells us that the so-called Stern Gang of the Zionist terrorists tried to assassinate President Truman by letter bomb in 1947, according to a new biography written by Mr. Truman's daughter. Miss Margaret Truman Daniel writes, quote, "A number of cream-colored envelopes about 8 by 6 inches arrived in the White House, addressed to the president and various members of the staff. They were found to contain powdered gelignite, a pencil battery, and a detonator rigged to explode the gelignite, when the envelope was opened. But when the White House mailroom, alert to the danger of postal bombs, discovered the letters and had them defused by the Secret Service bomb experts," Mrs. Daniel writes in her book, Harry S.
It's funny how they call them Zionist terrorists back then, but now we just are. You say anything about Zionism, you're anti-Semitic. That's just funny to me.
S. Truman. Now, members of this Zionist gang, which began in Mandatory Palestine, were also Canaanites. Literally, it's one of the craziest things that knowing the history of the creation of the state of Israel is enough to warrant someone being labeled an anti-Semite. This is stuff that is just freely available for you to look up on even Wikipedia. Okay, take a look at this in Wikipedia entry referred to as Cananism. It reads, it tells you that Ergun was a Jewish Canaanite. Cananism was a cultural and ideological movement founded in 1939, reaching its peak among the Jews of Mandatory Palestine during the 1940s. It had a significant effect on the course of Israeli art, literature, and spiritual and political thought. Its adherents were called Canaanites, okay? And then it tells you that most of its members were former members of Ergun or Lehi. Look at the art that they created. On the right side of this Wikipedia entry, it says, Nimrod. Okay. A visual emblem of the Canaanite idea. So they were creating art based on their beliefs. And who were the Canaanites in the Bible, guys? Baal worshippers. Okay, that's just a fact. It's right in your face. You wonder what's going on. Why are they doing what they're doing in Gaza and Palestine? Yeah, you got to go back into the history. Anyways, point I'm making here is Ergun was a Jewish Canaanite gang. No one denies that it was a terrorist group that killed a lot of people. One of its members was a man named Benjamin Emanuel. That is the father of Ari Emanuel, one of the most powerful, if not the most powerful man in Hollywood. His brother is Rahm Emanuel, one of the most powerful names in the Democratic Party in politics. He was the director of public affairs under Bill Clinton before he became his senior advisor. Rahm was also the chief of staff under Barack Obama, and then he became the mayor of Chicago. There's a lot of corruption in Chicago, as we know. Their father was literally in a Jewish terrorist gang. Okay, so I bring up that point only to underscore the absurdity of people trying to suggest that it's anti-Semitism to note the plausibility of Jewish gangs that are affiliated with Hollywood and within politics, especially when so many entertainers have died in mysterious circumstances. How many celebrities can drown in a bathtub before it gets weird? How many people do you know that have just drowned in bathtubs in general? Okay, I believe Kanye West always have, always will, and based on my own literal experience in politics, I have been threatened, my livelihood has been threatened, and I have been gang stalked by Zionists throughout the court system and beyond. But I digress, because you're probably thinking, what does Mormonism have to do with it? So I want to be clear that whenever we're covering any sort of mafia or gang, we're not suggesting that every person of that race or religion or ethnicity is a member of that mafia, because that's just dumb. In fact, in most circumstances, the actual gang members rely on people who are not in the gang to be outraged because it gives them cover, right? Criminals benefit best when they can mix in amongst regular, hardworking people. There is corruption.
Wolves within the sheep. It's always been known.
Everywhere, obviously, it usually exists at the top. So the term Mormon Mafia, where does it come from? If you just Google it, you are going to learn that it is a colloquial term that is usually referring to, and I'll quote, the trusted Latter-day Saints inner circle of businessmen and accountants who were hired by billionaire Howard Hughes in Las Vegas during the 1960s. Okay, so Howard Hughes is the name that we need to reference. Who was Howard Hughes? Howard Robert Hughes Jr. was one of the richest and most influential people in the world throughout his lifetime. Okay, he lived from 1905 to 1976. He was so influential that Leonardo DiCaprio actually played him in the movie The Aviator. I have not seen that. I don't watch a lot of movies. Heard it was a good movie. But he was beyond just a businessman. He was an aerospace engineer, an investor, a builder, a film producer, you name it. We do not have time to go over every area and aspect of his vast wealth and empire. So I'm going to really just minimize it into three main characters for you on this graphic, okay? He had film industry. He made his name as a film tycoon. He was a producer and an investor beginning in the 1920s behind such films as Scarface and Hell's Angels, eventually acquiring ownership of RKO Studios. To make Hell's Angels, he actually assembled the largest private air force in the world. He was also an aerospace engineer. In 1932, Howard Hughes founded the Hughes Aircraft Company, started off by renting a hangar within Lockheed Aircraft. Then there's Howard Hughes Medical Institute, okay? That was his charitable arm. He formed that in 1953 to fund basic medical research. He was also inspired, just, the backstory to get into medicine, because both of his parents died young. His mother from an ectopic pregnancy, and I can't remember the reason that his dad died young, of a heart attack, actually. And so he was interested in just health in general. He inherited, at the age of 19, his family fortune because both of his parents died, and that impacted him, obviously. Hughes Aircraft was eventually transferred into his charity. So people thought that he did that because it was this massive organization, and now it was, protected by being inside of a charity, so he didn't have to pay taxes on it. Las Vegas. Okay, so this is interesting. Howard Hughes, in the last 10 years of his life, began buying up casinos and hotels and restaurants in Las Vegas, including the Desert Inn, where he would eventually become a reclusive, the Sands Hotel. On that last point is where it gets even more fascinating, because Howard Hughes himself was not a drinker. He was not a partier. He did not do drugs. He was committed to his businesses. He was also, while he was in business, exceedingly paranoid about communists.
Make sure you guys double tap screen, getting into the stream, man. Show some love and support. Make sure you guys hit the subscribe button with notification bell. Show some love, man. Hit the like button, double tap screen.
And their ability to infiltrate companies and take them over. Now, he was so paranoid, this is a fact, that he shut down his film studio after he acquired it, RKO. For 6 months, he shut it down to investigate the political leanings of every single employee. Imagine doing that. That was in 1948. He's like, okay, shutting this down. I need to make sure none of you are commies. Ironically, 1948 was the same year that Israel became a country. But I'm just letting you know that that was a major concern that he had always in the back of his mind. And that is, of course, what was going on in the world, the Red Scares. But of course, with an empire the size of his, you can only be so paranoid, right? You have to trust somebody. You have to trust your lieutenants, right? You can't be a one-man band worth billions. Howard Hughes thought for sure, okay, if I'm going to be able to trust people, I can trust you.
I'm sorry, I just don't give a fuck about the Mormon, like all this shit. Like, what does this have to do with anything with the title? So let's get through it.
Andrew Colvett, man, that I have to tell you that after I saw him trying to spin that Charlie and Ben Shapiro were friends, I just said to myself, this is an evil man. This is an evil. There's no way you can do that. I just have way too many messages, group chats with Andrew Colvett, with Tyler. I was like, that takes a level of dishonesty and also like a fundamental hatred for the person who passed away. Like, typically people feel pulled to be more loyal to people after a tragic death, to not allow people to come in and to ruin their legacy. And Andrew just told that lie, and it was so crazy. Ben Shapiro swept in and said, tweeted, okay, I never claimed to be close to Charlie. Blake Neff went on to the podcast and said, yeah, no, Charlie had issues with Ben, but he did consider him at least an ally in the movement. You know, he was constantly texting about him, making fun of him. Andrew was just going to keep it up and just tell an extraordinary lie, reverse the truth. Candace was an enemy and Ben was a friend. That tells you Andrew Colvett's character. And so I am not surprised at what he's attempting today. It is very stupid what he's attempting, unbelievably stupid, because it's so easy to debunk. Of course, we showed you yesterday another PR disaster from start to finish. Erica's PR has been a disaster. It just has. Andrew Colvett has been driving that bus. She also told me they brought in crisis PR teams, and these people are just not reading the public sentiment from the very beginning. What actually began this slide was that tour when she went on to Fox News and then did Barry Weiss. She did like a bunch of shows in 1 week, and then they asked her about the podcaster, Candace Owens, name-checking me, and she'd just stop, and people were like, whoa, you kind of demonstrated compassion for Tyler Robinson on stage, and you've got these evil eyes for Candace. What's up, right? What's up with that? And the Daily Mail article reflected that stance. Compassion, again, for Tyler Robinson. They were using direct quotes throughout the entire article. Direct quotes.
So, what's up, ho?
Quotes coming from a family friend who I speculated was Tracy, because that is the only person I know that is friends with Erica's family who has been vocally speaking to people in the press. It was a guess. Anyway, so this backfired, and Andrew Colvett comes out and says that I'm behind the article. He tweeted this: "We never received any requests for comment. We are told that they attempted to send one, but we can't find it. It is strange given that every other outlet on the planet seems to know how to reach us, including the Daily Mail." That was the first clue that something very suspicious was going on here. Anybody who actually knows Erica knows that this is not how she talks, which calls into question who this so-called anonymous source actually is. There isn't a single word that is an accurate depiction of Erica's views or comments publicly or privately. I've personally never even heard Erica swear at someone, for starters. Erica has remained remarkably restrained, though she has ample reason not to be. The story was so bad, the Daily Mail had to make a major update to it once it was confronted with facts, including retracting their claim that the source was a family member of the Kirk family. That's an especially egregious correction to have to make for a tabloid. It's unfortunate to see the Daily Mail doing the bidding of Candace Owens, who of course used it as rage bait on her show because she has no actual evidence to discuss as she continues this very lucrative investigation. Maybe she's the anonymous source. Okay, so when you have spare time, go onto the Daily Mail website and type in my name. They hate me. Hate me. Absolutely. The coverage of me, it's positively atrocious. I mean, the amount of times I called out the Daily Mail on this show for the hatred that they have of me and then do yourself challenge and type in Erica Kirk and Turning Point USA, and you will see the exact opposite coverage. So, of course, we immediately put up the email that we received asking us for comment, as it always is a few hours before the piece goes up, and which we responded immediately. And they said that Erica was coming after us in a piece, and here's what she was going to say. We gave a comment. The article was up a couple of hours later, and we covered it on the show. The idea that I'm including with the press anywhere. Where can Candace Owens get a good, fair article written about her at all? Everything is, she's demonic, she's evil, she's awful, Erica's a grieving widow. And he is now accusing me of having some sophisticated apparatus where I'm calling myself a BI and a soulless ghoul. So I challenge him. Andrew, this is made up, truly. The only thing that's made up is what you're saying. Obviously, you're now facing backlash, probably under a little bit of pressure, because this was a really dumb article to plan against me. And you guys have proven that you work with Daily Mail because you chose them and sent them the video of Erica Kirk being named by Charlie Kirk. The public's not allowed to see it, but the Daily Mail was allowed to see it. We know you work with them. So to pretend that you don't have an established relationship, anybody is free to see, and to blame me, that is the definition of somebody striking you while crying out in pain. Like, that is Andrew Colvett right now in a nutshell. Striking me while crying out in pain because it backfired. Like every single one of their attacks. Erica name-checked me when she was dressed like Janet Jackson. That backfired. That was a bad idea. He acts like she's never come after me. She's come after me. She has come after me and name-checked me multiple times. And every time she does it, it backfires. And this time you're now, like actually every time, say it's my fault, right? This NCRI article that you were promoting, a digital assassin. This is all you. I don't have a PR apparatus.
Ridiculous.
Okay. Mitchell receives the request and he asks me if I want to comment. 9 out of 10 times I say, Mitchell, you can say whatever you want. I don't care because I don't get any good press. It doesn't matter for me to try to clean up or correct or say anything. The press hates me. I'm at war with the press at all times because they are an extension of the state. And Erica is deeply protected by the state. Everybody can see that. So it's just incredible. Obviously, immediately my PR person dropped the receipts, Mitchell, and showed the article and was just like, you're blaming us because you're terrible at PR. Here is the email that we received from the Daily Mail asking us to comment, and we did comment. And so I am challenging. This is so open and shut. If the Daily Mail created an article of which actually secretly Candace was behind and attributed quotations, they have not removed the article. They have not issued any retraction. Turning Point USA could very easily get a lawyer to send out and demand that they retract it. They're using direct quotations. You can't do that. That is the clearest case of defamation ever for an article to make, for a journalist, a senior reporter no less, to make up quotations out of whole cloth that never happened. And here's what I will say. I am so sick of this. Now they're saying, I've never even heard Erica swear. I've never even heard her swear. Do you think we're dumb? Do you think people can't watch her during her pageant years when she's trying out for every real, reality and TV? And Erica literally says, she's asked a question, what is something you wish that you could say to your younger self? Advice that you wish you could give to your younger self? And she says, don't try cocaine. Well, that's weird advice to give. Erica used to party. Okay, that's fine, by the way. The idea that Erica has never swore and doesn't swear, again, is this bizarre caricature they have been trying to build of Erica as like this strong, loving Christian who never does anything wrong.
Bro, I gotta get a fucking chameleon at this point, dude. I mean, seriously, at this time of year, the flies are terrible, bro. There's nothing you can do. They just are, all right? And I'm tired of it. Fuck. I gotta get a chameleon. I want 3 chameleons. One posted there so it can protect my webcam. One posted here. And one free roaming. Something.
Erica really is a nun behind the scenes. I have told you explicitly, she's nasty behind the scenes. She is. Any comment, Andrew Colvin, on what I'm saying about her calling priests and calling people and telling them to pull out of a Catholic prayer event because I was going to be praying? Like, that had nothing to do with politics, nothing to do with you guys. Is that the sweet Christian girl that you're talking about? No, she operates behind the scenes. She has been operating behind the scenes, and she works with you. What kind of Christian lies about a surgeon call? What kind of Christian would just lie explicitly, say Andrew Cole went rogue, the surgeon went rogue, and I had no idea about it? That's not true. Would you like to double down on that claim, Andrew? How about you do that? If I'm lying and she's so pure and innocent, then why don't you guys respond to that? Did the surgeon go rogue and violate HIPAA and speak to you one-on-one, alone, without Erica's approval? Did you tweet that without Erica's approval? Honest Erica? She's never told a lie. She's never swore. She's never used that language. She's just so pure. Who are you fooling? Who do you guys think you are fooling with this repeat act? I could have thrown in her time when she was partying, people that were reaching out, telling me about how she partied, people who partied with her. We left all that off the table because Erica was in her 20s and Erica's allowed to party. I was not doing drugs and cocaine, but I certainly partied. I always tell people that I was partying in New York City. Catch me at PhD, the Electric Room, One Oak. So we left it off the table. But the idea that you're now trying to paint her as so innocent that she doesn't swear so that you can blame me for what you guys not just did to me, have been doing to me nonstop, promoting influencers that attack me nonstop, go after my family. It's unbelievable, Andrew. Your PR strategy is a nightmare. So I am challenging you. I am asserting definitively that I had nothing to do with that Daily Mail article. I have nothing to do with any press that's being written about Erica because the press hates me. I'll go to court with you. You get them for defamation. If Candace was behind these direct quotations taken from a family friend, an article that has not been retracted, I am your ally, Andrew. That's really dirty business for a senior reporter to do. That person should be fired. Like you should actually pursue that. That would be a good use of your time rather than tweeting stupidity into the universe, as seems to be the full-time job of both you and Blake. Okay. Anyway, a couple of things that I did want to respond to from yesterday's episode. We got a lot of emails, and tomorrow is when we are going to cover, obviously, who Ben Shapiro was allegedly lunching with when he found out and got to the news, and his security sprung into action and spoke to we still don't know who on the phone in the car. A couple of people thought that the car looked like it was burned, that the panel was black and brown. That's actually, just so you guys know, you can get, that's just an option on a car. That one looks particularly dry, but like you can get that option on a car. I've seen that many times. So we're actually showing you that is a full option on a car. That's not any type of conspiracy there, that there's black and that there is brown. And then I also wanted to comment on people who noted that Mikey had two phones. We've been getting a lot of emails about this. Mikey having two phones in the news clip that we showed you yesterday walking into the hospital. Also, it's a fact Mikey did have two phones when him and Charlie walked into the event. The reason why I have not commented on that, and also Blake Neff oddly saying I put that phone away, that implies there's another phone. Everyone would just say I put my phone away. And Blake Neff does say I put that phone away. And I can show you that clip. Take a listen.
I remember he calls Erica. Around the same time, I pull out my phone and I call my mom just to say, Mom, there's been a shooting. You're going to see it on the news. I'm okay. Pray for me. I've got to go. And I remember that call. And around the time I put that phone away, and then he immediately calls his dad. He calls Rob McCoy.
Okay. I put that phone away. That is strange. That is, you would say I put my phone away. You would not say I put that phone away unless there was another phone. But we don't have anything concrete. And what I mean is, what I can say definitively is that when me and Charlie did events, a lot of times we would hand our...
Appreciate the 100, Mr. Green. Much love, much love. Appreciate the love. Make sure you guys double tap the screen, man. Show some love and support. Get those likes up. Join the family. Hit the subscribe button. We're on the road to 20K subs. I appreciate the 100. Oh, never mind. Sorry.
Our phones to our assistants. So I don't know if Charlie had his phone. I have not yet seen, or I guess I should say I haven't myself looked to see if Charlie had his phone on the table in front of him, because Mikey could just be holding Charlie's phone, and Mikey could have taken Charlie's phone to the hospital. I will look for that, but that's the reason why I haven't replied. And obviously Blake Neff saying that phone isn't enough evidence to suggest that all of them had two phones. Mikey may have had two phones. That is a plausibility, but it is also a plausibility that Charlie gave his phone to Mikey just ahead of the event, because I did that a lot with Charlie. We would hand our phones to our assistants, and then we would go on stage. So I'll leave it at that. And I do also want to show you one more email that we got from a seamstress regarding what was in the car. She wrote, Candace and Barron, she CC'd Barron on this email. I am a seamstress for 20 plus years. That item clearly has a seam, referring to the burned item on the floor, and you can see the precise spacing of each thread in the seam. I have included photos of the areas that I am referencing. I believe the larger portion of the cloth that we can see is the outside of the shirt, evidenced by the visible seam line. On the top, it appears the shirt is folded, so the char would be on the inside of the shirt. I also included a photo of what makes sense to me of how that seam could fit onto the shirt. It would be on the lower portion of the sleeve. Then we would be missing the area where the seam joins into the armpit. Continued to another seam down the side of the shirt that is less clear to see the thread indentations, but maybe you have a higher resolution photo than my screenshot from today's show. Please let me know if you need more clarity. And here is the photo that I thought was very helpful, of how she was describing that. She sort of flattened it and is basically saying that it represents the front and the back of his shirt. It's interesting. It certainly is interesting what she is describing. And she gave us this, the inside of the shirt, the outside of the shirt, and the fold. Of course, I don't have seamstress eyes. I just told you guys that we got so many emails from people saying it's a shirt, and they are within the industry. So I'm inclined to believe when we get that many emails asserting something, that it could be true. It could also not be true. But, the more you know. This has been an open investigation into things because we can't get answers from the people who would know. Anyway, we'll take a brief break and I'll come back and read your comments. All right, you guys, have you ever felt like you are searching for real spiritual truth, but you're not sure who to trust anymore? I've been there.
All right, bro. Fuck the comments. Let's get into some of the David trial too.
All right, day 2 of the preliminary hearing. David appeared in court today. It's very bad. I mean, just watch the full video. Hit subscribe, let's go. Burke arrived in court wearing the same orange jail jumpsuit and black-rimmed glasses, appearing again relaxed and unfazed. As she greeted him before the proceedings began, defense attorney Blair Burke leaned over and rubbed his back. He remained shackled at the waist with his hands free. The second day of testimony began with defense attorney Marilyn Benarski continuing her cross of Benjamin Greger, the former director of finance for Mogul Vision, the management company that oversaw David's career and finances. So obviously, his finances are involved in this because the state is saying it was financial motive to silence the victim. Greger testified that nearly all financial matters were handled through Burke's mother. Interesting. Colleen Burke, whom he said communicated with roughly 10 times a month between 2024 and 2025. That's a lot of communication. According to Greger, Colleen managed Burke's accounts, transferred money, monitored balances, and paid his credit card bills. He said Burke himself never asked how much money was coming in or how much he was expected to earn in the future. Holy shit, David had a lot of trust in his mom. Bro was making millions and millions of dollars and didn't ever check it, is what it sounds like. Never asked about it or anything. Defense appeared to be laying groundwork to argue that Burke had little knowledge of his own finances and attempted to undercut any allegation that he acted with financial motive. I mean, I guess it's a good point, but it's common sense to know that if it gets out he's in a relationship with an underage girl, that is going to damage his career. It would be over. All right, someone named Sheldon was live-in security for David. Greger said security guard Sheldon lived at Burke's home for about 6 months, though he testified he never discussed what occurred and said the residence with Sheldon present. The defense also questioned Greger about encrypted.
Damn, bro, I don't remember being there. I was doing a lot of things, though. I mean, I could have been there.
Messaging services used by Colleen Burke. Wait, David's mom was using an encrypted messaging service. I'm guessing this is in between the time of the body being found and him being arrested. What was it, like Signal or something? Greger said she became concerned about the security of her communications after personal information was leaked to the media. Benarski later attempted to question Greger about Burke's charitable giving and a trust known as Thorn Rose Trust, but prosecutors repeatedly objected on relevance grounds. And Judge Almeida sustained the objections, explaining the line of questioning was not relevant to determining probable cause. Clearly, defense lawyers were trying to show David donated to charity, but the judge doesn't care about any of that. On redirect, prosecutors tried to reveal the extent of Burke's involvement in his own finances, aimed to show he was involved after all. Although Greger acknowledged Burke bought homes and signed contracts involving money, he testified that he personally never reviewed financial matters with the singer, one-on-one. Beth Silverman noted that Burke had a separate bank account and a separate credit card that he managed himself. Greger said he was unaware. Ooh, so the state fired back saying, he had his own bank account and his own credit card that he managed completely by himself. If I were to guess, he clearly had a business account, and then his mom would transfer money to a personal account for him to spend. And she would obviously invest and do other things on her own with a financial advisor. Silverman then moved to questions surrounding 14-year-old Celeste. When asked, Greger testified he never discussed travel plans involving Burke and Celeste with Burke's mother or former manager Josh Marshall, including whether Burke had purchased airline tickets for Celeste to travel to London. However, Greger acknowledged he spoke with Mogul Vision's Robert Morgenroth about whether or not Celeste had actually traveled to London. He testified the conversation did not include any discussion about traveling to Texas, just London, and the flight purchase appeared to come from one of Burke's personal accounts, rather than an account managed by Mogul Vision. Ooh, okay, so that makes it even worse, low-key, for David here. I mean, flight purchases with an underage girl that ends up dead is linked to his personal bank account. Redirect concluded with prosecutors asking whether Greger had ever discussed allegations involving fake IDs, parties at Burke's home, or drugs or alcohol with security guard Sheldon. Silverman hinted that Sheldon spent ample time with Burke and Celeste and even allegedly drove them around to parties. Terrible look for that security guard. I mean, maybe he believed that she was 18 years old, but come on, bro. Prosecutors next called Louis Poimiru, Vice President of Finance at Interscope.
Yeah, after they found that body, he sure as hell looks older than 24. He probably aged like 5 years. Hold on 1 second, guys. I forgot to do something before the stream. It'll take me 2 seconds. Forgot to monetize the video. Excuse me. I forgot to do it yesterday too. I don't know why it can't just be automatic. Like, why do I have to constantly do this shit? What is what is? All right, let's get back to it.
who testified he has worked for the company for 3 years and reviewed Interscope's financial records related to Burke's music career. He examined payment records, agreements, and tax docs covering 2022 to 2025, and reviewed a summary of the money Interscope paid to Burke and his affiliated entities. He also testified that he reviewed a December 25 termination letter sent by Interscope to Burke's management company, Mogul Vision, which was signed by Jason, whatever, Interscope's head of business affairs. These people's names are very ridiculous here. I'm not even going to try to pronounce them. So we knew that. Interscope dropped David at some point. People don't realize, I'm pretty sure David makes all the money still from Spotify. His YouTube got demonetized. But right now, as far as what we know for the public, David's still getting Spotify checks for these songs. I would hope Spotify has cut that off, but who knows? According to the summary introduced in evidence, Interscope paid around $950,000 in 2022, $3.8 million in 2023, $186,000 in 2024, and $2.2 million in 2025. That is a funny way to look at how advances work. I'm guessing these are a lot of advances for albums and shit. In 2024,
You guys fucking hear my cat? S'more! Shut the fuck up, man. No one wants to hear your meows, okay? No, yeah, what are you doing, bro? No one wants to hear your meows, right? No one wants to hear that shit, huh? No one wants to hear that.
he didn't have an advance, so it was only $186,000. But all these other years were advances for albums, I'm guessing. 22 and 23 payments included deposits into Burke's Coogan Trust, which was a court-protected account required for child performers in California, where 15% of minors' earnings are set aside and cannot be accessed by parents or guardians. Crazy. They had to make that law for children actors on like Nickelodeon and shit, because they would make millions of dollars and then the parents would spend it all. When prosecutor Besserman asked whether those funds were reserved exclusively for Burke, he replied, "That's my understanding." The records also show Interscope guaranteed Burke $3.2 million for his first album, with roughly $200,000 allocated toward legal fees, $1.5 million for his second album, with half of the recording commitment paid up front. He further testified that Burke earned an additional sum of $485,000 through brand partnerships with companies including AMC, Hollister, Crocs, and Bose, while another $653,000 was paid for tour support, marketing, and media-related expenses. So the dude's making bread. We know that. Some financial figures are subject to revision, as the court exhibits have not yet been made publicly available. The amounts are based on real-time notes taken by reporters inside the courtroom. During cross, Marilyn Benarski focused on Burke's Coogan Trust. I'm just going to call this guy P, by the way, because I'm not going to even try. Questioning P about who solely controlled the account and what happened once Burke turned 18. Benarski asked whether Burke had exclusive control over the trust funds and whether anyone in his family could have access to the money, but P testified he could not answer those questions. Benarski noted that Burke turned 18 in 2023 and acknowledged the payment summary introduced in evidence did not show.
Yeah, dude, he'll just sit here with his head in my hand, and just like, yeah, he likes, like, his whole head will go in my hand, and he likes it when I do that too. He's a goober.
Any Coogan Trust payments after 2023. Benarski attempted to go over Burke's prior contract with Interscope as well. However, P seemed to have trouble understanding the line of questioning, which seemed to slow the proceedings. Prosecutors next called California Highway Patrol Officer Sean B. I'm not even going to try with these last names. Who testified that on January 7, 2026, he responded to a report from Caltrans worker who had discovered a passport card belonging to Celeste along Highway 154 east of West Camino, Cielo Road in Santa Barbara County. So yeah, I was right. Yesterday, her passport card was indeed found by a worker, where license plate readers tracked David around in those areas. B said that the area consisted of a dirt shoulder with tall grass and steep embankment overlooking several sharp drop-offs. According to his testimony, the Caltrans employee told him he found the passport card while walking down the shoulder during a traffic control assignment after some recent rain. The worker said he searched Celeste's name online, realized who she was, and contacted the police. Can you imagine being that worker? You look up that name, you see it's a dead girl that was found in someone's trunk. My heart would drop into my ass. B testified that after confirming Celeste was listed as a missing person, he photographed the scene, documented the location with GPS coordinates using Google Maps, notified LAPD. Exhibits shown in court including photographs of a highway shoulder, the brush where the passport was found, and the passport card itself. The passport of Celeste was shown in court where she appeared to look very young. Throughout the testimony, Burke remained focused on the courtroom monitor, appearing expressionless as images of Celeste's passport was displayed. This guy's showing no emotion whatsoever. I'm sure his lawyers told him to do that, but whatever. B also said CHP and LAPD searched the surrounding area but found no...
Yeah, that's what people, like, when you go to court, that's what your lawyers tell you. Like, don't shake your head. Don't talk about, don't like whisper under your breath. Like, don't just sit there and get through the proceeding. Like, they don't want you to show any sort of body action or emotion.
No additional evidence. On cross, defense attorney Regina Peter focused on how the passport card was recovered and whether investigators could determine how long it had been there. B acknowledged that Caltrain's worker picked up the passport before law enforcement arrived and was not wearing gloves. He also testified he did not ask whether the passport had been face up or face down, partially blurred or otherwise covered by dirt or vegetation. B said he was unaware whether the passport card was ever tested for fingerprints and agreed he would not be able to determine whether it had been dropped recently or carried to the location by weather or storm. So just trying to add some, doubt on this
Yeah, Wisconsin. It's like the age-old joke that like 10,000 million people have came in and said like, if you're at a kindergarten reading level, that's fine. Like that's call me whatever you want as long as you subscribe.
Discovery of the passport card or whatever. We don't know how it got there or when it got there, or if David was involved, even though he's tracked there. Peter also questioned why B photographed himself of only pointing toward the area where the passport had been found instead of taking a photograph of the exact location itself. A Google Maps exhibit introduced by the defense appeared to place the GPS pin on the highway rather than in the dirt shoulder. B said he placed the marker using satellite map view and still claimed that the coordinates he documented were accurate to the best of his ability. Before lunch, prosecutors called LAPD criminalist Chelsea Murillo, a forensic field investigator with the department's Scientific Investigation Division, who testified she has processed more than 230 crime scenes over 7 years. So this lady got some experience. It's a lot of crime scenes. It's about 32 crime scenes per year. Prosecutors displayed photographs of the vehicle. Murillo testified that the entire exterior was coated in a noticeable layer of dust, leading her to believe it had been sitting undisturbed for some time. She also described a strong odor consistent with the decomposing body based on her training and experience, and noted insect activity inside the vehicle's front trunk. More photographs were shown. Numerous air fresheners scattered throughout the cabin and trunk. Along with a bottle of Perel hand sanitizer, one of the air fresheners displayed the phrase "love is in the air." Was he throwing air fresheners in his car to cover it up as much as he could? Because remember, the state says he was hiding this from everyone, lying about the smell to his friends and everyone in the house. And the fact that one says love is in the air. After spending much of the morning focused on Burke's finances, including testimony about millions of dollars in music earnings, his personal bank accounts, and a London trip he allegedly paid for himself with Celeste, the people shifted their attention back to physical evidence. Before testimony resumed Tuesday, the court addressed a pair of slightly awkward procedural disputes. Patrick Steinfeld, Celeste's family's lawyer, asked to make a record of what he described as concerns over not being permitted to use his laptop in the courtroom. The judge appeared to admonish Steinfeld and instruct him to be more respectful in addressing the court. Girl, dude. Moments later, defense attorney Blair Burke raised concerns about a visual presentation prosecutors planned to use during testimony of LAPD criminalist Chelsea Murillo, saying she had not been made aware of it beforehand. Beth Silverman quickly and sharply argued, telling the court the defense had in fact received the materials. The exchange showcased the ongoing tension between the two sides before testimony resumed. So these two women on the screen right now are beefing. Another argument also arose between the attorneys of the access of prosecution's exhibits. Beth Silverman told the court she wanted to photograph several exhibits during an afternoon break, but said she had been told she, and Silverman is a known prosecutor in LA. So Murillo walked the court through additional photographs documenting the forensic processing of his Tesla. She testified investigators found multiple air fresheners tucked in the rear door pockets. While additional photographs showed extensive insect activity inside the front trunk, including maggots, dead flies, and clusters of insects surrounding one of the air fresheners. There are also close-up photographs of dense masses of maggots inside the front. Murillo explained that investigators tested portions of the vehicle using phenolphthalein, a presumptive blood test, and later applied Blue Star, a chemical enhancement similar to luminol used to detect possible traces of blood. Before and after Blue Star images were also shown from the front trunk and third row seating area, where Silverman suggested Celeste may have been placed at some point inside the vehicle. Holy shit, we did not know this part. Beth Silverman is hinting that he had her at another part of the car, in the back row of the Tesla at some point. Like in the back trunk, not the front trunk. Holy shit. So this is obviously what they're talking about here, Blue Star. Murillo further testified investigators recovered a USB flash drive, a memory stick, from Tesla's glove compartment, which was collected by LAPD Detective Marino. If it's just the flash drive, there's not going to be much space on that because I have a Tesla. The flash drive they give you is only 128 gigabytes. And there's so many cameras in this car, it records over itself a lot. Like, and if you don't have Sentry mode on all the time, you're not going to have any footage on that thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, it records over itself. You need a bigger hard drive. You need a terabyte hard drive in there. On cross, defense attorney Blair Burke focused on the handling and processing of the vehicle.
I just will never get a fucking Tesla. Like, why? And then imagine being so stupid that you kill this girl and you dismember her and you put her in the Tesla. Like, dude, some people are just so stupid, bro. So dumb.
Before Murillo's arrival, Murillo acknowledged she responded on September 9th after being briefed by detectives that a body had already been discovered and understood the Tesla had been examined the previous day. She testified the vehicle's front trunk was closed when she began her examination and said detectives donned gloves before coming into contact with the vehicle. Burke also questioned a handwritten correction on the forensic request. Then Murillo said she did not know when it had been made. While Murillo confirmed investigators did not perform phenolphthalein testing on the vehicle's exterior, she explained she did swab portions of the front Tesla for potential touch DNA after observing disturbances in the dust. Burke also confirmed that Celeste DNA was also found presumptively. Prosecutors next called Lauren Wallace, a LAPD criminalist assigned to the Field Investigation Unit, who testified she also processed evidence recovered during the search of Burke's Doheny Place residence. Wallace walked the court through additional forensic evidence collected from the garage, including a reddish stain on a Tesla charging cable that tested presumptively positive for the possible presence of blood. Blood on the charging cable in the garage. This is such sloppy work. Like, the whole thing is so disturbing, but like, he really did this, which kind of looks like he did. This is like, he did a fucking terrible job at covering it up. First of all, the body was found in his car. Like, what, you get the point. Wallace also testified.
Like, why wouldn't you just go steal a car like an older version of a vehicle from some random neighborhood, put the body in there and bring it back undetected, right? Or go start it on fire.
That investigators documented 7 linear cuts and rubber floor mats recovered from the garage, describing
It's
the damage
just
as being
too
consistent
fucking
with
boring. I can't do it, bro. It's too boring. I think nah. Cops catch man after dumping chopped up body in the river. Oh yeah, we watched.
Well, she just came to the house. She said she found a foot.
All right, bro. We're gonna record this. We'll see if today's recordings are better, because all the recordings that I did yesterday that was supposed to, like, I was supposed to upload today, did not record properly. We'll just say that, okay? Okay. We'll just say that, okay? Man gets caught dumping dismembered body into the river by police. Is this a banger? We will see.
Well, she just came to the house. She said she found a foot.
Your granddaughter did?
Yeah, that is real, right?
Looks be that way.
A teenager's walk near the water turns into a nightmare when she discovers dismembered human remains. Within days, detectives are led away from the river and straight to a house of horrors.
All I remember is hanging up in the water.
Oh shit, hold on. Let me fix my... Where should I put myself? Like right here? Right here? We'll do it right here.
The following footage has never been seen before. On September 18th, 2024, officers in Bay City, Michigan are dispatched to a local boat launch after receiving a report of human remains discovered in the water. They arrive to find a man and his granddaughter who tell a disturbing tale.
Well, she just came to the house. She said she found a foot.
Your granddaughter did?
Yeah. And
Okay.
she said, will you go back over there with me? I said, yeah. I've lived here my whole life.
Yeah.
I've always wondered like this happens. I hope we don't have too often.
What body part did you see first?
That one.
The foot?
Yep. And,
Okay.
then she did a walkthrough, and that's when she found the hand. That is real, right?
Looks be that way. Look at the tissue.
How in the hell does that happen?
Who cuts it off?
Where's the hand at? Can you point to where it says on the other side of the dock or what?
No, it's right here in between all the trees.
The officer follows the teen's directions and discovers a severed left arm floating palm up in the water. According to police records, both limbs appear to have been cleanly severed. One leg at the lower calf and one arm near the bicep. In a later...
Damn, bro. Yo, Richard. See you later, bro. I mean, I don't understand, like, a lot of you people have main character syndrome, bro. I don't give a fuck if you leave my channel or not, bro. I want the real ones to stay, okay? I want the real people that fuck with me to stay. We're here to chill and have a good time, not fucking act like I'm a news anchor on CNN type shit, reporting and constantly trying to, like, I do what I want to do on this channel. You got a problem with it, don't watch me, period.
Report, one officer describes what appears to be a saw blade or chop mark on the bone.
Is this the only other one you've seen?
Yes, I only saw one. I only saw one.
Yeah,
Dude, imagine seeing that. Like, that's one thing that, like, I don't know, that because it's so weird when you go to a funeral home and you see someone in a casket and they're dead and whatever. But like, imagine seeing like a human chopped up. Like, that'd be crazy.
this is legit.
The scene is secured and officers conduct a thorough search of the shoreline. As they make their way along the edge of the water, they make more gruesome discoveries. Another partial arm and leg, also appearing to be cut with a sharp object. However, the rest of the body is nowhere to be found, prompting a larger search that continues the following morning. While nothing else of note is discovered in the water, officers receive another concerning call.
So, what brought you out here today?
That man.
We were just out looking for his car. I went back to grab her because we were going to go over to my other brother's house.
Mm-hmm.
He called, said he found the car.
The same day the remains in the river were discovered, family members of 41-year-old Justy Stillwell reported him missing. His loved ones had not heard from him in days, and now his missing Jeep had turned up abandoned in a parking lot less than 1 mile from where the body parts were found.
So do you have any idea how long this vehicle's been out here for?
No idea at all. All I know is, from my knowledge, when we were in his house yesterday, we were looking at the calendar, and he X'd off every day. He didn't X off Saturday. And I don't think maybe even Friday, and his trash wasn't put out. So then we're like, what the hell's going on? But I'm a 41-year-old male, you know, sometimes they can just decide to, but it wasn't like him.
Has he mentioned anything about talking to anyone new or out of the ordinary? Because
I didn't talk to him that much. The last time I seen him was my dad's funeral.
According to his brothers, Justy is a man of habit who doesn't have any enemies, making his sudden disappearance all the more concerning. Although no one has officially connected Justy to the remains, everyone at the scene knows what had been found the night before.
Yeah, she's all worked up with everything that's going on on the other side of the river, too. It's plastered all over Facebook. I know you're not going to give me any information, but I got a pretty damn good idea.
it's not complete what we found.
Right.
You know, but as an officer, I look at situations, and coincidences sometimes
don't make sense. I did yesterday. I already put it in my head. It is what it is. This is so out of character. Like,
keep
like
the hope.
40-some years and never doing anything like this.
According to police records, the remains are identified through fingerprints as Justy Stillwell. Detectives turn to Justy's digital life, and a breakthrough comes from a young man who had been chatting with him on Grindr the day he disappeared. The young
man, bro. I'm not even going to say what I want to say.
And wanted to meet up, but he tells investigators that Justy was walking to a friend's house and said he couldn't. Doing some detective work of his own, he reached out to the friend online. The friend responded, sent back a selfie, and with that photo, investigators identified him as 40-year-old Robert Tweedley. On September 25th, he's taken to the law enforcement center, where investigators sit him down for an interview.
So what is your understanding for why we're here talking to you today?
I don't know exactly what happened. I'm going through a lot of sorry about my language.
It's okay.
A few months ago, I called community mental health to admit myself for wanting to commit and hurting others, and nobody would listen. Nobody would give me the help that I needed. I got drunk one night, and somebody was a couple months ago. Somebody offered me meth. Well, I got kind of hooked on it. I don't remember much. I just remember getting high and drunk, and that's it. And then I saw on the news what was happening. I put two and two together. So,
as far as what?
His name is Justin.
Despite what he claims, the investigators have gathered more incriminating evidence, which they'll confront him with later. But for now, they tell Robert the brutality of his actions could make people see him as something far worse, unless he explains what happened.
The FBI is wanting to get involved in this because of what happened. They've thrown out things like serial killer and stuff like that. And I don't think that's what happened here. I think that this is something that got out of hand, some sort of domestic situation. I know he can be a persistent guy. Only you can fill in the details.
I don't remember everything.
You may not remember everything, but you remember some of it.
I blacked out for a few hours. He actually came over just to talk and help me through communication, had somebody to talk to.
Okay.
I'd only known him for a couple of months or so. All I remember is cleaning it up.
Cleaning what up?
The blood.
The sergeants conducting the interview aren't convinced that Robert doesn't remember killing Justy, but the more they let him talk, the more he seems to recall.
How did you kill him?
I'm trying to think how I did it. I pushed him down the stairs.
Did you push him down the stairs?
I think I did, yeah. I pushed him down because he was getting out.
He was getting out?
Yeah.
Like leaving the house, you mean?
Yeah.
How did you kill him? When you say you pushed him down the stairs, did that kill him or did something else kill him?
I think he would have been dead, but I think I choked him. I think I choked him.
So when you pushed him down the stairs, was he hurt from that?
Yeah, he was barely breathing.
How did you choke him?
Got on top of him, strangled him.
With a rope or with
my hands?
One hand or two hands?
Oh.
Do you remember how that felt?
I couldn't stop. That was the thing. If I wasn't I would have called 911.
By Robert's account, with Justy deceased at the bottom of the stairs, he was faced with the issue of getting him out of the house. But Robert explains Justy's body was too heavy, so he did the unthinkable.
I chopped him up so I couldn't get him out of the basement.
What did you use to chop him up?
Welcome in, smiling. Yeah, dude. I mean, this is exactly why. Like, you got to be very careful who you talk to on these dating apps and stuff, dude. Like, you know, it's all random people getting on these dating apps, and you know, you talking to strangers, and you may talk for a while. You may think you're comfortable going that place, but you never know what these guys or what these girls or any person is thinking about doing to the next.
Probably Max.
Probably, or is that what you use? That's what I used.
Robert says he walked to Justy's home, took his Jeep, and drove it to Walmart where he used cash from Justy's wallet to purchase the axe. Afterwards, he used the Jeep during the disposal of the remains. He admits to dumping his arms and legs into the river, but placed the remainder of his body in a nearby field.
I didn't mean to.
Yeah,
I believe that. You don't know what led up to this, though?
Yeah, you didn't mean to, but yet you went to the store with his money, got all the stuff you needed to get. Like, stop crying now, you little bitch.
Like mental health and to the state of Michigan. They wouldn't help me. I called and I begged for help. They wouldn't help me.
We need to start setting some things right. Obviously, like I told you, we have his arms and legs, but I would like to get the rest of his body and his head so that we can give him a proper burial for his family. Will you please help me with that today? That'll go a long way to show that you are
I'll do
sorry.
whatever it takes because I'm not a monster and I'm not a killer. I wanted to kill myself, not anybody else.
I believe that.
After disposing of Justy's remains, Robert spent time cleaning up any evidence of his sinister actions, even posting about his cleaning spree on social media. In a chilling Facebook post made the day after Justy was killed, Robert wrote, "I'm so tired I can't sleep at night. I cleaned my house today. I got back on a cleaning kick. Just wish I had the right cleaning supplies, LOL, but hoping to get some sleep tonight. I have a 10-hour shift."
May I ask?
He says I'm not a monster. I'm not a psychopath. Yeah. Okay.
Question. Sure. How did you guys know it was me?
A lot of really good police work. A lot of really good detectives put it together.
Towards the end of the interview, investigators ask if he'll lead them to the rest of Justy's remains. Robert agrees and guides them to a nearby field.
Going the right direction.
Also, did you drive through here?
How far back? Not that far. I think there's a fence that divides us. Okay. There's a hole in the fence.
This way?
They'll call this fence right here. And it goes all the way.
Is he on that side of the fence?
Literally, that hole in the fence is
Cadaver dogs assist in the search, and investigators recover Justy's pelvis, upper legs, torso, and head. Meanwhile, Robert's home is searched, and investigators find multiple items used in the crime that Robert admits trying to burn in a fire pit. In the basement, they find apparent blood and marks in the concrete consistent with an axe blade. Robert is permitted to write an apology letter to Justy's family, which reads in part, "If I could take it all back, I would, and trade places with Justy. I pray to God that his soul is at rest, and I pray to God for you, his mother, and family can move on, and remember Justy for who he was, a kind, loving man who only wanted to help a friend in need." Robert was arrested and held on a $1 million bond. He now faces 2 charges, homicide, open murder, and dead bodies, disinterment, and mutilation. His trial is scheduled for 2026. Watch our full videos as they were originally made, with no...
Damn. Well, don't go on Grindr, kids.
Yeah, good to see you, Professor Jang. Long time no speak. Hope
I
you're
like,
doing well.
dude, I like Professor Jang. I'm not gonna lie, he's very smart. Has a lot of good outlook on everything. A lot of good, like, you know, way of seeing things and way of thinking like that I never would have, especially when the Iran war began.
Yeah. Yeah. I see you've been busy. Yeah.
What do you mean?
Well, you got in this fight with Alex Jones, right? You went to the World Cup. You went to Mecca. You've been doing quite a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I've been busy. What did you think of that Alex
Oh, you
Jones?
almost got deported, right?
And I got deported by Elon Musk. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I forgot about that. Sorry about that.
Yeah. It has been busy. I wasn't sure what you were referencing for.
Yeah, I was referring to a lot of things. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you've been busy as well. I saw your recent podcast. Your hair looked different. I was like, well, it looked you looked like Xi Jinping almost.
Yeah, yeah. It was a Chinese hairstylist. So Gleb Solomon flew in from Serbia. He's a Russian podcaster, and he rented like a studio. I went into passport is valid for all countries except Israel.
They probably sneak in somehow though. Trying my best to get everything working.
Guys, I'll be right back. Oh, Zeus, why you always gotta lay there, bro? Be right back. I'll be quick. I don't know why you guys got so much hate on Sneeko, man. I know he does some dumb shit, but I think his heart's in a pure place. And you know, people want to talk about godly. Oh, you're not godly because you're not perfect or blah, 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 blah. You know, I think the biggest thing that can represent a religion or represent any sort of belief and faith is a man who came from sin, came from doing bad things, and turned his life around and is now a person of a good man, a man to look up to. You know, I think that's the most godly thing, right? Me, I don't really. I mean, I'm a man of the universe. I think the you know, I think that God is the universe, karmatic energy, and all that other stuff. But if I think anyone represents a religion the best, or if you were to pick a person out that would be the more convincing for people to join a religion, it's a person that came from sin and a person that came from doing bad things that turned it around because of his so-called faith, right?
Properly with the group, but I wanted to guarantee, like, if we're gonna.
I mean, granted, he is a cuck, right? He was a cuck at some point, so I mean, I can't defend that, but look how far he's came, right?
Go out there that you can meet Anwar Ibrahim. Did you see again? He just there's new legislation or something. He's doubling down on banning from being able to.
Yeah, and it says on the passport, if you are Malay, you're not allowed to go to Israel, and are not allowed into Malaysia. It says on the passport.
Oh, so Malaysians can't go to Israel?
That's right. It says like if you actually look at the Malaysian passport on the front page, it says this passport is valid for all countries except Israel.
They probably sneak in somehow though. They're
Oh God, the fucking bots are gonna start coming in when it comes to Sneeko now. First it's Candace Owens hate bots, and now it's fucking yeah. Bro, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be mean, Chronicle of the Degenerate. Lawrence, thank you for the gold coin. God bless you. But what is your channel, dude? Like, I'm sorry, but if you're going to hate on somebody, usually when people come in, I check to see if they're bots. So this is why I'm doing this. But if you're going to hate on somebody, dog, okay? Let's first see what you're about, right? So let's go to your channel. Where is it at? Let's go to all chat. Let's go to your channel. What is this, dude? Who are you, bro? Picking your nose. What are these videos? What is this? Let's just calm down, okay?
Got to be some Mossad agents and
Well,
some
much
people.
love,
But
Lawrence.
the
I
rhetoric
appreciate
of that is
for the coin. Thank you for supporting the channel. God bless you. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you double tap the screen and show some love and support, man. Join the See Me Now family. We're on the road to 20K subscribers. Most importantly, we're on the road to get that silver plaque. So we are coming up on a time where our algorithm starts to hit. So make sure you go ahead and stay tuned in and enjoy the stream, man. If you have anything you might want me to check out, or we can get into it. So I like hearing this professor talk, though. I think he's very smart. So, and him and Sneeko talking, I mean, come on, you got to watch it.
I wish we could repeat that in America. I wish we could see more leaders have the same amount of, have some balls like that. Like, that was beautiful to see.
I think this NDAA authorization may be a turning point. I've seen the public backlash. I mean, the idea of merging the and American militaries, I mean, it's going to cause a huge backlash across the country, and it's going to reverberate for a few months now.
Yeah, so this is
I know, dude. I looked at his channel and I was like, no way, dude. This guy is out here hating on people. And this is what his channel looks like. Like, what? Oh my god. Some people
about to happen. Do you think this is inevitable that the U.S. Like, I saw that Israel wants to partner up with the Pentagon and just become one and the same, even though Smotrich just said that Israel has no interest in joining the Iran war. So how would the U.S. and the militaries be hand in hand if they're not even going to join the Iran war?
Right. So I think the main purpose of the NDAA authorization is to create more back channels between the Israeli and the American militaries. So they would share intelligence, but also they would share financing. So rather than like the billions of dollars that Israel gets per year, Israel would basically have access to America's $1.5 trillion. So I think it's sort of create a lot of gray areas where these militaries start to converge more. And Israel is able to do a lot of like shadow ops using American financing.
So you're saying there's going to be a lot of backlash, but looking at the recent events that have transpired, especially since the war started, which we so obviously joined to support Israel, I think the vast majority of Americans are now completely okay. A lot of people, especially that were anti-Israel, now seem to not care anymore. You really think that there'd be massive backlash?
Yeah.
From what's transpired, I think many people are okay with this.
Yeah. So let me use an analogy. I was watching the World Cup. You were at the World Cup, right? Between Spain and Argentina. And Argentina didn't show up to the World Cup. And they were heavily favored because it seemed as though FIFA had rigged the World Cup to benefit Argentina. So Argentina did not face a top 10 team until they faced England in semifinals. Argentina only played at night or indoors in the afternoon. And Miami was the first time they played outdoors in the afternoon. And you've looked at all these VAR decisions, non-consequential decision went against Argentina. So it seemed as though the path was being cleared for Argentina to win the World Cup. And during the World Cup, and again, you were there, they didn't really show up, right? They had no shots on goal during the first 90 minutes. They were fouling a lot. And after they lost, they became really, really angry. And I think the idea is when you plan like too much, when you manipulate things too much in favor of a team, what often happens is the team, the people develop hubris. They become arrogant, they become lazy, complacent. They also have a deep sense of guilt. So, I think that the Argentinians, they had a really complex set of emotions going into the game, which affected their play. The Spaniards, on the other hand, they knew like the game would be rigged in favor of the Argentinians. If it were a close game, and if it went down to 2 penalties, then they would definitely lose. Lawrence. So they had to bring their A game. They had to like come together and they had to like bust their ass to actually win the game, and that's what they did. So I think the World Cup, I think it marks a turning point in this war against Zionism, where
these flies. Like, I feel like I am going to erupt into a explosion because of these this time of year is always terrible. Oh my god, what is life right now?
Before, I think a lot of people are like, oh my god, the Zionists, they have all the money in the world. They control the political apparatus. They control the Pentagon, right? This is all hopeless. But then you watch the World Cup, and originally, it seemed as though Argentina, it was all in the bag for Argentina. And what happened was the Argentinians developed a sense of hubris, so they became lazy and complacent during the game. And the underdogs, the Spaniards, they overperformed. So I think like the World Cup, it's going to send a subconscious message to the world that, the Zionists, they're not invincible. And they are going to at some point. So and I think this NDAA marks a point when they really up when it's so blatant, it's so in your face. And then you have the Epstein files, of course. You have what happened in Gaza, what's happening in Iran. As you say, Finance Minister Smotrich came out and said that we will not be helping this war in Iran. We're good in Lebanon. We're based in Lebanon. We can't send forces to Iran. So when the Americans start sending ground troops and the Americans start taking a lot of casualties, then I think public opinion will start to turn against Israel because Trump already said this. America started this war for Israel. So why is it now like Israel has abandoned ship at the most crucial point, right? So I do think that this marks a turning point.
Well,
dude, the turning point was a long time ago with Israel, bro. Like, the turning point has already started. I mean, I think that it's just going to be the icing on the cake, to be honest.
We'll see. But there was playing into your analogy. I went to the game, and there were two that showed up at halftime. And the first thing that the guy asked me, I didn't know there were at the time, even though they had Argentinian jerseys. Like, maybe I should have assumed it. But he says, "Hey, can you send me a photo of the flags on the field?" I showed up late, and he wanted to post an Instagram story of the flags. So I put my phone on his phone, and I airdrop him a video of the flags, and he posts it. And later on, it's extra time, and there's a Messi fan next to me, and he's saying, "I hope FIFA can rig it," because he's like making the joke that FIFA's rigging it for Argentina. I'm like, "Yeah, no, Netanyahu, Bibi got to make the call." Just joking with him. It's all in my video. And then the two, they probably realized who I was. And they just start, like, they chimp out. They get really angry, like, "Don't bring politics here. Don't bring politics here." I'm like, "I'm not talking to you." And they just start screaming. And then later on, they do a BB chant. They go, "BB, BB." Then Spain scores, and it's 1-0. And I'm, talking back now. I'm like, "Yeah." When it's become clear that Argentina is going to lose, the guy pretends to go for a handshake. And my friend's like, "Oh, shake his hand. Come on." Even though they're yelling at me, they're calling me a loser. They were, getting really upset, saying I'm anti-Semitic. And he goes for the handshake, and then he flips me off like this. And so I'm like, I knew that he was going to do that. I didn't shake his hand. And I'm making a joke. I'm like, "Oh, take your middle finger and put it on the scoreboard. It's 1-0. Then he takes a bottle of water and throws the water everywhere. And it gets all over. But it missed me mostly. But it gets on these guys that are next to me in the row. Then the cops come and they kick him out. And I'm making a joke. I'm like, "It's ethnic cleansing." They kicked him out of the land. But one of the kids that was over here, he starts saying, "Man, I feel bad for that guy." And I'm like, "What?" This guy was interrupting the whole time. He's cursing people out. He interjected in a conversation he wasn't part of. Then he literally assaulted you, threw water all over us, and he's feeling bad for him? How are you feeling bad for the dude that's causing all the problems? So I think a lot of Americans fall into that category where they let the just get away with anything, and they still find a way to empathize with them in a way that they don't even find a way to empathize with the people of Gaza, right? Many people are looking at what's happening in Gaza. They're kind of bored with it. They see it as like, "Oh, they're brown or whatever. I don't care." It's, "Oh, look at all these liberals. They keep crying about God. Oh, why are they crying so much?" But then they see about the smallest thing, even if they're like throwing water all over you, they find some sort of empathy to be like, "I feel bad for them." So I would not be, sounding pessimistic about that if I didn't see many people switch up. And so many of the anti-Israel voices have just now realized that, okay, it seems like it's a winning battle for Israel. It seems like they just have ultimate control. It's harder to fight against them. So it's the idea, if you can't beat them, join them. And so many people have followed suit. So, I mean, look, we haven't seen any protests for Epstein. We haven't seen any protests for the war. I highly doubt that the military becoming tied with Israel would be the crux, but maybe I'm wrong. Your predictions tend to be correct.
Yeah. Well, here's my thing too. Like, we just let too much shit slide constantly. It's just constant, bro. Like, we seen how the UK was protesting, hundreds of thousands of people outside, looking like it's about to be a revolution. We have all of this stuff going on, the Epstein files, and then we have, Gaza, and we have all this other stuff. And this is where I said earlier, it's like TikTok brain. And what's the, God, what is it called when it happens to you, little things happen to you over time and you just become blind to it, so that you just allow it? I can't remember what it's called. But like, that's what's going on now. And it's like, at the end of the day, it's either we start to wake up and we start to protest and get this shit figured out, or we're going to allow so much to happen to where we cannot turn back, right?
Yeah. So I would go back to your story, and like the kid says, I feel sorry for him. Well, I would feel sorry for him as well, because I would look at the scene and think that this guy,
I agree, Greg.
He's so full of arrogance, and he's so ignorant. And this arrogance and this ignorance, it's overwhelming him, so that he makes a public spectacle of himself, like, like in front of millions of people. I mean, like, how stupid do you have to be? Well, it's not stupidity, it's just hubris, right? It's being and thinking like the world owes you because of the Holocaust, and now you can do whatever you want, right? And you're just basically digging your own grave slowly. And that's what happened with the Argentinians, where they went into the World Cup and they played terribly, but they still fought, well, they still deserved the World Cup because they're Argentina. And when they lost, I mean, look at the behavior. They tried to start a fight with the Spaniards, and then during the award ceremony, they turned their backs on the Spanish team. Just completely bad sportsmanship, just complete hubris. And so I would use another analogy. I see this stuff all the time in China, the way they behave and the way that the Argentinians behaved in the World Cup. And the reason why is there's lots of people in China who obtain high position of power based on their family connections, right? Their families just appoint them to a position, and they're promoted regardless of how they behave because of the powerful
Don Jr.
family connection. And what happens is like they end up behaving like they you met at the World Cup, as well as the Argentinians during the World Cup. They're arrogant, they're lazy, they're complacent, and when things don't turn out their way, they throw a temper tantrum and they start cursing everyone and making a huge scene. And you have to feel sorry for these people because like they're such losers and they're digging their own grave. You just have to feel sorry for them.
I can't. I can't help feel. Right. Not only that, you know what happened after yesterday? My friend that I went with, he was the one who negotiated the tickets, and those end up contacting the ticket broker because guess who the ticket broker, what type of person they were, so they knew each other, of course. So this is a very famous surgeon, a plastic surgeon in LA, and they contacted and they're trying to demand and they're threatening me to delete the video that I posted of me just like, hey, I'm at the game, and then they throw water, delete the video now, we're gonna go attack you. And it's like, you literally assaulted me on camera. Also, they were filming it too. They know that I'm a content creator. They know that I'm filming. You want it to go viral. Now you're viral, and now you're mad about how you look when you went viral. The removal of any sort of responsibility for the actions that they are 100% responsible for, I can't find myself to empathize with that whatsoever. But it happens all the time. And it happened again when I went to Knicks game 3, because this was last month, very similar, because Trump was also at that Knicks game that I went to. There was another plastic surgeon that yelled at me and said, "You're an anti-Semite." And I go up to him and I was streaming.
I saw that.
Yeah, same thing. And he's like,
yeah.
And then he gets quiet because he sees I'm streaming and he's there with his 2 kids. So he was very comfortable yelling at me when he thought it was off camera. And as soon as I'm here, like, what happened? Then he gets quiet. And every time I walk away, then he starts yelling again. I go back in his face and he gets quiet. This is not a human way to interact with anybody. But did you see? Yeah, go.
No, it's the pride before the fall, right? It's like, how do you know a society is about to collapse? It's because they behave like this, just the complete arrogance, the in your face, the hubris, exactly. And I think Israel may achieve the Greater Israel Project, but if they achieve the Greater Israel Project, it would mean the end of Israel as a nation state. It would mean civil war. It would just mean they lose the democracy, the secular constitution. Religious fanatics would take over the country. It would be the worst thing that would happen to Israel.
Did you see Trump at the celebration, at the ceremony that Spain had?
It's kind of like they want to achieve the end goal regardless of the detriment, right? Like, they don't care that people hate them. They don't care that, like what he just said, if they achieve the Greater Israel Project, that could be a civil war. They just want to achieve it because they've been working so hard at it, regardless if it destroys them in the end, because to them, that is end times anyway, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like on stage trying to get a moment. So you're saying that it would be the end of the democracy. Could you even really say that it's a democracy right now? I don't know if you saw, but the Luxmaxer Clavicular just won a propaganda tour in Israel.
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Well, yeah, what was your analysis of that? Because they were, at first they were very happy, and he was there with an IDF soldier, but one news station was mad because of the club song, that famous Ye song, and they started getting upset. Do you think that was a successful trip, or was that an example that this is not a democracy? Or what did you think about that propaganda tour?
I think that what's happening is just a sense of desperation and anxiety, right? So the idea that, Benjamin Netanyahu met with some influencers and said, we'll give you $7,000 a post, and we really need you to better manipulate American public opinion, right? And then bringing these people like Clavicular, who, does he have any influence in America? I mean, like, I know he's popular, but is he influential? I mean, because he comes across as a clown, right?
Yeah, I would say. I mean, he's getting on Fox News and he's getting a lot of major interviews. It seems like the people in charge of the media definitely want to parade him around and get people, especially the youth. I'm seeing this idea of peptides and, clavicular is infertile. He said it on my stream. He can't have children because he's been taking testosterone for a long time. This is something that they want. I mean, the idea of, plastic surgery, peptides, and Ozempic has never been more commonplace.
I personally think there's a major disconnect between reality and the elite. The elite, especially the Zionist elite, they live in their own bubble. They're all friends with each other, and they reinforce each other's prejudices. And what's actually happening on the ground, the actual reality, they have absolutely no sense of. It's very similar to the war in Iran, where Trump and his people, Hegseth and the White House, they think they're winning the war. And there are some people on the ground who's trying to tell Trump, listen, we're running out of weapons, and we are suffering a lot of casualties. And the Iranians are more determined than ever to fight, and the ground invasion would just be a disaster. And the Trump lives in a bubble; he doesn't hear anything, right? So the only way that you can actually get anything to Trump is through news leaks. But Trump only watches Fox News, which just reinforces his prejudices and his worldview. And I think this is how the world works now. I think like the people in charge, they live in a bubble. They're insular. They're really old, man. They're over 80 years old. They don't really care about how the world works because they might be dead in 5-10 years time, and they're just intent on enjoying everything before the world burns down, right? So I don't think there's any strategy to what's going on. I just think the world's controlled by idiots, and they're really old idiots, and they're about to die, and they want the world to burn with them.
Yeah, I mean, he thinks he's going to go to hell. Oh, he just wants to drag as many people there with him. That infamous video on Air Force One. There's a holiday that's supposed to actually start in about 40 minutes at sundown. It's called Tisha B'Av. And I looked it up, and it's called, it's commemorating the destruction of the first and second temple. And the beginning of the war, it really did coincide a lot with, I think it almost started like maybe 2-3 days into Ramadan. And you could even see that the Torah and the Bible, or the gospel, was revealed in the same month of Ramadan. So it seemed like it seemed too perfect for it to happen on these days. Well, I could ask again, because I think that there's a high chance that, especially there's been more casualties publicized. When do you think the ground troop invasion is going to be?
I think it might be a few more months. So first of all, the weather's too hot for a ground invasion. That sort of weather, the ground troops are going to get sapped down really quickly because these soldiers often carry heavy equipment, and the morale's gonna be very low. And logistics is gonna be a pain in the ass. So I think they have to wait until October for any ground incursion. That said, they might try a quick, easy victory. So for example, take one of the islands, or maybe even Pickaxe Mountain, send in a ground invasion, raise the flag, take some photos, and then get out. They can do that with special forces. So they might try a PR stunt. But right now, I would say the weather is too hot. The second thing to recognize about the American strategy is they always want to do things as cheaply and as easily as possible. And that means before you send in ground troops, and eventually before sending ground troops, you send in proxies, right? So you're trying to bribe the Kurds in the northwest of Iran to go in and draw out the IRGC so they can be bombed by air power. So that I think is a real possibility, that they try to bribe the Kurds into a ground invasion of some sort backed up by American special forces. They can also try to take Kharg Island, which is something that Trump has been talking about since the 1980s. So I think these are far more likely. So rather than have a concrete strategy, like a long-term strategy, like how to actually win the war, and to actually win the war, you would need about 4 years as well as 2 million troops. Okay, if you were actually planning this out, and these were real military strategists, then you would need about 2 million troops and 4 years to conduct this war. And you would attack from multiple axes. You need staging operations in Iraq, first of all. So this is a 10-year process. And again, this is what you would do if you're really serious about winning this war. But the people in charge live in their own reality, and all they care about is what looks good on TV. So they're going to go for optics rather than strategy. So I think a ground invasion will come eventually, possibly as early as October or November, and possibly as late as next year. But there will be a ground invasion because they'll be forced into it. But it'll be a very reactive, ad hoc process as opposed to a long-term strategic, deliberate plan.
What about the involvement of countries like Pakistan and Turkey? So we saw Netanyahu seems like he wanted to do something with Turkey. It wasn't really too specific, but Pakistan seems like there could be some involvement. What about the other key players? What is, since the last time we spoke, what do you think the involvement of these nations could be?
Yeah, so what we're seeing this time around that marks a major escalation is the expansion of the war. And so in March, the war was basically limited to the GCC, Israel, and Iran. And what's happening now is all of Iran's proxies are being brought into the war, right? So Lebanon is being attacked. And there's rumors that al-Shara, the president of Syria, he will eventually launch a ground invasion from the north. And this will continue attack from the south. And then Lebanon, the government of Lebanon, will declare war on Hezbollah. And so, we should see a major escalation on the Lebanon front. The Houthis have already basically declared war against Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
They said like that the Red Sea is now closed to Saudi shipping. And what's really important is, so the Houthis have said it's not just closed to Saudi ships; it's also closed to any ships that dock on Saudi ports, right? So basically, all shipping is now closed off in the Red Sea, and this marks a major escalation. And you know, the Saudis have been trying to get rid of the Houthis for the past 10 years without any success. So we can expect the Saudis trying to launch a offensive against the Houthis, and that starts another front there. And then, of course, you have Iraq, where the Iraqi prime minister, she's trying to disarm the Shia militias that are aligned with Iran. So we're seeing a gradual expansion of the war. And eventually, you know, Pakistan, Turkey will be brought into the war as well as Azerbaijan, the Caucasus.
It's just gonna be interesting to see how it goes down, man. I'm not sure if I can watch that Jack Neal podcast. I'd really like to, though. Oh my God, here we go with this guy.
Laura Ingraham says the American people are done with war, won't fight it, won't fund it, won't support it, and that this new isolationism is going to win. And it might win, but that kind of thinking is dramatically wrong. It's the kind of wrong that destroys countries.
Russia has been joined Iran, though, Gator. Like, the BRICS alliance, Russia, China, Iran. They're probably all at the table right now thinking, how are we going to do this, you know?
Countries.
Just like we're at the table, they're all at the table.
That destroys America. Listen, I get why people feel the way they do. I feel that way. I get it, okay? Gas prices are high. Families are stretched thin. Folks are looking at the grocery bill.
Man, Ben, shut the fuck up. You don't feel shit, bro. You can run to Israel at any time and you can fucking hide under a rock like usual. Shave your fucking mustache and trim your eyebrows and shut the fuck up.
And their rent, they're thinking, why on earth are we spending blood and treasure halfway around the world and not even getting to the end point? But this is why it's actually imperative that America wins and wins quickly. See, there are three options on offer here. 1, we win. We do what we have to do in order to achieve our goals. 2, we fight antiseptically and the war goes on pretty much forever. 3, we go full isolationist and pacifist and then we continue to fight forever wars forever because that's what happens. The choice is right there in front of us, which means there's really only one choice. Victory. This is the Ben Shapiro
If
Show.
you're isolationist, how do you fight wars forever? Like, what? What are you saying, Ben? Ugh.
By the people. And Michael Brennan Doherty writes, Trump's ambitions are being checked by the American voter. The war is now unpopular and hemmed in, not by Congress or constitutional checks, but by the people themselves. When Trump tells us that his favorite option is to take out Kharg Island, but that he's not sure America has the stomach for it, he's admitting the sovereign he fears most is not Iran's supreme leader, but the American voter. The Iran war is restrained not by Congress, but by an American people who will tolerate a quick punitive spectacle, not an attempt to land Marines on a foreign oil depot while under fire. And Laura Ingraham followed that up with a tweet that's not really a quote from the piece. It's kind of posed that way, but she says,
Bro, who's this Jake Monroe guy you want me to check out? I'm looking at his channel and he looks like he's I don't know.
quote, key point. The American people are done with war. They will not support war. They will not voluntarily pay for war. They will not make sacrifices to support war. They will not encourage their kids and grandkids to fight in wars. They won't vote for politicians who promise war, and they will punish politicians who get them into war. It's not Trump who's making America more isolationist. It's the American people, and they are going to win this fight. Okay, so maybe they win that fight, if that is how the American people are now operating. If they do, it's horrible because it's a foolish sentiment. It's foolish and dangerous. The idea, we'll never fund, we'll never fight, we'll never allow anyone to declare a war, we'll never get into a war. You may as well say that you will never allow the sun to rise because the reality is that the world will come to you. But I want to get more into the sentiment that's feeding this foolish point of view. Because again, I get it. The American people right now are looking at the situation in the Middle East and they don't know what's going on. And I mean, frankly, kind of why should they? And some parts of the administration say the Strait of Hormuz is already open. We keep hearing that it's open already, which is not true. We know.
I also want to put this up on the screen as we talk about some of those outside sources that are impacting this ongoing conflict. This is now being reported by the Associated Press that Russia has now provided Iran with information that can help Tehran strike the United States military, according to its sources with the Associated Press. And so that's sort of the biggest information we've had within the last hour. The first indication that another major U.S. adversary is now participating, even indirectly, in this war, according to officials familiar with the matter. So I now want to bring into the conversation to discuss this and so much more Stefano Rittendale, the Chief Intelligence Officer for Artorias. Stefano, thanks so much for being with us here on Live Now from Fox.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, this was a major development as we're talking about some of the players who are watching all of this ongoing there in the Middle East. This conflict, which started between the United States and Israel, launching a joint strike in Iran, has now possibly spread to include other countries like Russia involved as well. What are you watching for as this new information is coming out?
Well, I think the Russians are pretty much consumed with the situation in Ukraine. Obviously, we saw in 2024 when Bashar al-Assad was overthrown and that the Russian was absolutely powerless to save him. It's important to note that the Russian played a key role in keeping him safe for over a decade from the rebels. But the war in Ukraine has really consumed them. But it's not really surprising that they're giving intelligence support to Iran that then Iran can leverage to conduct a lot of strikes against U.S. forces and interests across the Middle East. Russia does have very significant SIGINT, signal intelligence capability, imagery intelligence capability, but a network of people as well that they would gladly pass on to Iran as a way to kind of solidify their alliance with Iran and kind of hit back at the United States for our support with Ukraine. So I think this is not necessarily surprising, but I think we have to be very clear that Russia will not get militarily involved in this conflict. We have no indications showing that Russia will militarily defend Iran. They will probably continue from the diplomatic and intelligence support and also take advantage that maybe there might be a rise in oil prices for their own budgetary reasons. But that's the extent of what we're seeing Russia's support to Iran at the moment.
All right. And so as we're talking about this, some of the additional reporting has now come out that since the war began on Saturday, Russia specifically passed Iran the locations of U.S. military assets, including warships and aircraft as well. This is according to other officials who are watching all of this unfold in the region. I have to ask you, Stefano, we do know that that assistance now possibly brings in the fact that one of America's chief nuclear armed competitors, again, is contributing directly in this. What do we know about the nuclear capabilities of Russia, and would they be able to aid Iran at this point to try to get back what Iran has lost during some of these ongoing attacks?
Well, obviously, Russia is one of the largest nuclear powers and very well extensive history of using and developing nuclear weapons, obviously. But in context with Iran, we did see after the 12-day war last year between Israel and Iran, Russia wasn't really able to provide that much support to Iran to rebuild their military capabilities simply because, again, they're consumed with the situation in Ukraine, and a lot of their own military domestic production is going to fulfill those requirements because Russia is suffering significant amount of casualties in its war in Ukraine. So, tens of thousands of Russian soldiers are dying every month, significant toll on aircraft, tanks, and armored personnel carriers, to name a few. And Russia really has to prioritize that, but that doesn't limit Russia's ability to provide some level of support to Iran, even if it's just intelligence support or some equipment. It's important to note that Iran's military is very much dependent on Russia's military technology. And
because what I was going to say is that BRICS might be an economic alliance, but regardless if it's an economic alliance, they're still going to have interest on joining Iran regardless because of, like you said, the economy and everything else. I mean, if they have an economic alliance, it makes more sense that they're going to join in on whatever conflict they're going to have against us or whoever. In my opinion, though, they're pretty stretched out with Ukraine, but it makes sense that they would want to provide intelligence to Iran or support them in some ways because at the end of the day, we are fighting the proxy war in Ukraine, right? So we're helping Ukrainian soldiers fight. We're sending military aid plus weaponry there, along with a bunch of people coming from around the world to help fight from different armies, from the UK, from America to whoever. It's just gonna be interesting, man. I mean, World War III is gonna be interesting. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I miss the days, dude, like back on Call of Duty, right? When like you were fighting next to Vladimir, whatever the fuck the guy's name was. Flashbang out, that guy. Call of Duty World at War type shit. I missed like, why can't we just be alliances? Like, to me, I feel like Russia and America would have a lot more to gain from being alliances than enemies, right? But the only reason why we're enemies is because we continue to try to take out their assets and fight proxy wars against them.
Loss that Iran has in that department, it's very hard for them to replace it because of the issues that I highlighted earlier with Ukraine. So Russia will continue to provide intelligence. They probably are enabling some of the strikes that we're seeing in Iran, but it's not really a determinative factor for much else. And right now, Iran's on the rope, and clearly President Trump has indicated that regime change is the priority.
And speaking of President Trump, before we get to some of the latest comments that he made, he put out a statement on social media. I still want to stick with some of those international factors as well. China, we've all been watching to see how they would be playing a role, if at all, in this conflict. What are you hearing there, Stefano?
Right. So there was an interesting report earlier from CNN that indicated that China is maybe debating sending financial, even some equipment support to Iran. It's important to note that a lot of the, specifically the fuel and the rocket components that Iran uses to build their ballistic missiles actually come from China. And they're an integral part in kind of the Iran's overall supply chain for the ballistic missile program. So we did get some reports that China is considering increasing that level of support and even the financial aspect, but they're very concerned about U.S. retaliation as well as U.S. sanctions. And obviously we do know that President Trump and President Xi are set to meet soon in China. And I don't think China really wants to have that much that might rock the situation with this visit. We've actually seen an interesting drop in Chinese, even just air operations near Taiwan, and clearly it's tied to this visit. So it's very likely that at least in the next couple of weeks, China might take a steep step back to see where the situation is going. But regardless, China historically has played a very minimal role in supporting their allies and partners around the world. We've seen with Pakistan and India, the war that happened there, China provided minimal support to Pakistan, even though they refer to Pakistan as, quote, their all-weather ally. So any support that China really gives to Iran is probably going to be minimal and too little too late for the Iranian regime to really turn things around.
Going to be something to continue to watch as we're looking at those international factors. But Stefano, I want to pivot to what President Trump said a bit earlier today. Putting this up on the screen for folks at home. This is a Truth Social post that he put out there saying this: there will be no deal with Iran except unconditional surrender. After that, the selection of a great and acceptable leader. We and many of our wonderful and very brave allies and partners will work tirelessly to bring Iran back from the brink of destruction. I want to stick really there with that first part, talking about unconditional surrender. From what we're watching in some of the military actions ongoing there in the region, is that what the U.S. is seemingly indicating with the approach that they've been taking?
I mean, I think what's clearly done is the U.S. military is doing in Iran is what we would consider domination, absolute domination, right? Their goal is to really destroy, not even just degrade, but absolutely destroy Iran's ballistic missile program, their UAV forces capable of conducting strikes, and even to the point where they might be looking the same way to do that with the regular military and the IRGC. Look at the Navy, for example, right? Iran's blue water Navy, those ships that are able to travel around the world, has basically been destroyed, and we're probably seeing a very similar aspect with their small boats and their brown water Navy, much more closer to the Persian Gulf, that are being sunk. And so the Iranian Navy, for and of all of itself, has been destroyed, similar to the Air Force. So I think the U.S. CENTCOM and Israel are following that campaign plan, and that could basically be tied into this idea of unconditional surrender, where even the White House has kind of said subsequently from that Truth Social post, indicating that the unconditional surrender doesn't necessarily have to come from the Iranians. It could be an assessment from the U.S. of basically the destruction of the Iranian military and the decapitation of the leadership, which we know a lot of members of Iran's senior leader have been killed already in joint U.S. and Israeli operations.
All right, and so we're putting up some video footage there on the screen of some of these ongoing strikes there from Israel and the United States as that video is being released to us. And we all, as always, appreciate Stefano Rittendale for joining us here on Live Now from Fox, breaking down the very latest. Again, that indication that Russia might also be aiding with information there in Iran, going to be something to follow. Thanks so much, Stefano.
Thank you so much for having me.
God, I don't get why they don't start the stream until I mean, fuck, they just start the stream a whole ass. This whole stream up until 40 minutes is just nothing. There you go. Hopefully she comes out now. This is just ridiculous. I mean, they should probably start the stream closer to when these people are gonna speak, right?
Good afternoon, everyone. Good to see you here
I
today.
can barely even hear it.
We'll begin today with a few scheduling announcements. The president held the original remarks on the economy. On Tuesday afternoon, the president will deliver a tribute honoring the life and legacy of his dear friend, Senator Lindsey Graham, at the National Cathedral.
Oh,
And next
Jesus.
Friday,
Dear friend, Senator Lindsey Graham. Gag me.
the president will host the 13th cabinet meeting of this term.
Why is it so
Of
quiet?
this term at Camp David, which will be a lot of fun and something different for the cabinet to experience together. Turning now to the economy. A little more than a year after President Trump signed the Working Families Tax Cuts into law, this historic legislation continues to deliver on its promise, unleashing a genuine boom for American workers, families, and small businesses. The numbers speak for themselves. This was the biggest tax refund season in American history, with the average refund exceeding $3,400, an 11% increase over the last year. American families and workers claimed $82 billion in direct tax relief, and 97% of filers received a tax cut. More than 29 million workers claimed no tax on overtime. More than 35 million seniors claimed no tax on Social Security. And nearly 8 million workers claimed no tax on tips. Thanks to the other pro-growth provisions in the Working Families Tax Cuts, like making the 20% small business tax deduction.
I don't know. It's weird. It's just very quiet in my ear. It must be like the way they streamed it. Because usually I have to keep one headphone off, but goddamn, I have to push them in my ears.
Permanent and delivering 100% expensing for new factories, equipment, and research, the Trump administration is setting up American manufacturers and workers to thrive like never before. Just this week, the National Association of Manufacturers, which is the largest manufacturing association in the country, released a detailed report showing exactly how these tax cuts are driving investment, job creation, innovation, and long-term growth in all 50 states. In fact, I'd like to take a moment to highlight just a few of the real American businesses that this law is helping. Pivot Manufacturing in Arizona made the largest equipment purchase in company history after the Trump tax cuts gave them the long-term certainty to invest with confidence. Winton Machine Company in Georgia is on pace for the best year in its history. Ketchy Inc. in North Carolina was able to purchase new machinery and expand its workforce by 25%. And Juergens in Ohio expanded its brand new facility to increase production. And they're also paying their workers even more thanks to the no tax on overtime provision. These are not just great statistics. These are American businesses with the confidence to grow, hire, and invest right here at home rather than offshoring their jobs. And a business opening or expanding in this country means more opportunity and higher wages for American workers. It means a chance for the American dream for young families, and it means restoring the belief that we can make and build things right here at home. This is what President Trump promised, and it's exactly what he is delivering with the help of Republicans in Congress. Democrats throw around the word affordability a lot, but when they had the chance to vote for the largest middle-class tax cuts in history, they refused. If Democrats got their way, it would have meant the largest tax increase in history, $4 trillion. 90% of Americans would have seen their taxes go up, and it would have been a complete disaster for our economy. That's the Democrat solution to, quote, affordability. It is raising your taxes. So I hope the press will cover more of the massive success stories resulting from the Working Families tax cuts and point out that every single Democrat on Capitol Hill voted against every single common sense provision that put more money back into the pockets of the American people. Finally, on the energy front, after this briefing, President Trump will participate in a historic ratepayer protection pledge event at the EPA headquarters down the street. The president will expand the ratepayer protection pledge to governors, state legislatures, developers, and power providers to ensure that everyone involved in building and powering data centers pays their own way, instead of passing those costs on to hardworking families. The president will be joined by Energy Secretary Chris Wright, EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin, and several governors who have already signed on to this pledge, and it has already proven to be remarkably successful. Nearly 200 additional stakeholders have signed on since it was first announced, including utilities, data center developers, public power authorities, co-ops, and state governors. As a result, the pledge now covers 80% of all the power delivered to American homes and businesses. President Trump's bold leadership is turning data centers from a source of concern into engines of growth and opportunity for communities across this country, all while cementing America's dominance over China in the global AI race. The president is ensuring the American people are never left footing the bill so private companies can benefit. Instead, President Trump is leveraging the data center boom to deliver real, tangible benefits for working families and small businesses. So we have a busy day here, rest assured. I'll take some questions. And here in our new media seat, we have Cam from Town Hall. Cam, thank you for being here. Why don't you kick us off today?
Thank you. Two quick questions. One on Congress. First off, Speaker Mike Johnson passed a continuing resolution earlier this week. John Thune has said he wants to work with Democrats to find a way to fund the government. What is the White House's stance on the best way to keep the government funded?
Well, the White House's stance is that the government needs to be funded. This president and Republicans on Capitol Hill from both chambers, as you just mentioned, the House and the Senate Republicans want to keep the government open. We want to work together to find ways to do that, and the White House will continue to have discussions with Senate leadership on the best path forward. I don't want to get ahead of those conversations, but the most important thing for the American people to know is that this president and this White House wants the government to remain open, unlike the Democrats in this town who have been acting as obstructionists. We've seen time and time again, they have chosen to block this administration, to block Republicans in Congress from keeping our government open, which does not help anyone, and it especially hurts the American people who depend on our government remaining open so they can access the critical services that our government provides to so many Americans across the country. So these conversations are continuing, but I think I just made the president's position quite clear.
Thank you. And then on the Saudi Arabian nuclear deal, what steps is the U.S. taking to get Saudi Arabia to sign the Abraham Accords?
Sure. Well, the president himself has spoken on this many times. His True Social post this morning, and I will read it for those at home who missed it. The civil nuclear deal, there will be no enrichment of material, an important point being made between the Department of Energy and Saudi Arabia, which pertains only to non-military use, will be approved, but is totally subject to Saudi Arabia joining the very respected and successful Abraham Accords. The United States is not opposed to civil nuclear facilities, as we all know. Look, this is a
She's 32. I thought she was older than that, dude. I mean, I would smash, but I mean, dude, she looks older than that.
A condition that the president has spoken about many times with our Gulf and Arab allies. He wants to see these countries sign the Abraham Accord. It was one of the most historic accomplishments of his first term, and it continues to be a long-term goal of his to expand those accords to ultimately come to a place where the Middle East can be a peaceful and stable region. And yes, this deal with Saudi Arabia, the energy deal, is contingent on this condition as far as the president is concerned. So we'll continue to talk with our Saudi counterparts to get the deal finalized and hopefully see them joining the Abraham Accords very soon. Thank you. Gabe.
Caroline, thank you. With regards to the Saudi nuclear deal, why was that condition not mentioned yesterday when the Energy Secretary announced it?
Well, look, the president is always the final deal maker, as you know, and this is something that he has mentioned on numerous occasions going back. I can provide you with those statements, and he has said if they don't join the Abraham Accords, the deal is off. So we'll continue to have those conversations with our Saudi counterparts moving forward.
So the deal is dead if Saudi Arabia doesn't join. And have you any indication that Saudi Arabia considering?
Yeah, I'm sure
Again,
it does, Skip.
The president has spoken directly with the Saudis about this in numerous conversations in the past, and the administration will continue to engage in those conversations. Alexandra.
Be exempt from international inspections as part of this deal if it moves forward?
I don't want to comment on the specifics of the deal as we're still, again, as I just said, talking especially about this very important condition that the president raised this morning. Alexandra.
It's so good to see you. Now that you're back.
You too.
So Treasury Secretary Bessent voiced concern this week on China potentially distilling or stealing AI technology from the United States, kind of manipulating it as their own. Anthropic said that the largest distilling attack happened last month. Do you think this will come up when the president meets with President Xi in September?
Well, I have had the honor of being part of some of the meetings and discussions between President Trump and President Xi, and I can tell you there is always a wide range of topics that come up. I would imagine this would be something. It's of high importance to the president and of this administration to obviously ensure that America remains dominant in the AI race, and we're obviously tracking the particular situation that you mentioned.
I have one more if you don't mind. This week we've seen some major players in Democrat politics voicing or alerting really on how much influence socialism, communism has had now on kind of mainstream Democrat politics. Is there any chance that the president would be interested or is considering working with left of center Democrats to push back on this?
Well, unfortunately, we don't seem to have too many of those left in the Democrat Party. We have literal self-proclaimed communists who are winning elections and who are claiming to be the new leadership of the Democrat Party. I think the vast majority of Americans understand the dangers of communism. Just look at countries all over this world. As an example, Cuba right now is a country that is about to be a failed state because of the communist policies of the past several decades. Communism should never be allowed to lead this country, and the president obviously is strictly opposed to it and all the dangers that it reaps. We've seen it happen across the world. Meredith.
Just to continue on the Saudi nuclear deal, do the Saudis agree with this interpretation since it wasn't part of the initial agreement? And has the president talked to NBS since this new condition?
As you know, the president just put out this statement a few hours ago. I don't believe he's had a call with MBS in the hours since. However, this is something that he has raised in previous conversations and has also said many times in the past. John, in the back, go ahead.
Thanks a lot, Carolyn. In regards to this deal, in the past, the Saudi government has said they will not consider entering into the Abraham Accords unless and until there's a Palestinian state. What makes you think that they're going to change their minds on their position regarding that?
Again, I won't get ahead of the president's conversations, but this is something that he feels very strongly about and has spoken about it in the past and will continue to uphold.
Can I ask you one other question? Sure. Just playing devil's advocate, why does Saudi Arabia get a civilian nuclear deal, but Iran doesn't get a civilian nuclear deal?
Well, again, this agreement is still being worked out. Well, it will eventually, hopefully, be.
Yo, that was a based question. What? Who is that reporter? That's a good question. Good question.
Finalized with the condition that the president spoke about this morning. But this agreement in particular, as it's been discussed thus far, does give priority access for American companies in the Saudi nuclear energy program, which will ultimately benefit American industry workers and supply chains. So the deal that has been discussed thus far and will continue to be discussed absolutely puts America first, and that's obviously very important to this president. Ed.
Thanks, Caroline. So Friday, the Section 122, the 10% global tariff, goes away. Is the president going to ask Congress for an extension, or what's next?
Well, I know the USTR, our great Jameson Greer, trade representative, will be having an announcement on that very soon, later today. I don't want to get ahead of him, so I would just tell you to stay tuned for more details.
Okay, and then one more on the president's going to have some big utility companies at this event later on today. We're now a year and a half, so to speak, into his pro-energy policies. Is he going to pressure those executives to lower energy prices, not just maintain the prices?
Well, look, as I mentioned earlier, the Ratepayer Protection Pledge is a novel idea drawn up by this president, his team, to ensure that data centers in communities, where those communities want data centers, that these big CEOs and energy companies are picking up the tab for the energy costs in these communities, so the American taxpayer not being fronted with those bills. And the pledge today is being expanded to acknowledge all elements involved in building and operating data center, the governors who appoint the state regulators who set the power prices, the utilities and the co-ops that sell the power, and in addition to the tech companies that have already signed the pledge. So you'll continue to hear more about that from the president in a few hours at 2:30 when he goes over to the EPA. Sophia.
Have you spoken to the president about what he wants to do about Chinese AI models if they are found to have stolen American IP? Does he want to sanction them? Or what actions can be taken without undermining broader U.S.-China trade talks or cutting off American startups that are increasingly reliant on them?
Sure. Well, I won't get ahead of the president on any potential actions, but obviously these...
All right, boring. Whatever. Move on to the next one. I seen this down here. It says, hold on. I want to make sure.
Look at me real quick and just relax.
Gotta make sure it's in my history. Let's see what, if I can find that I just wanted to watch as well.
Does he want to sanction them? Or what actions can be taken without undermining broader U.S.-China trade talks or cutting off American startups that are increasingly reliant on them?
Sure. Well, I won't get ahead of...
Robert Greenway, former Deputy Assistant President Trump. Sir, thanks for coming back and good morning to you. We learned from overnight the B-1 bomber is in the theater for the first time during this conflict. Also, there's a lot of reporting about the surge of airplanes and personnel into the Middle East. What do you make of this beyond the options for the Commander-in-Chief?
It's good to be with you. Good morning, Bill. I think two things. The Iranians have proven once again they can't be trusted to pursue a diplomatic approach. They can't abide by any agreement. And so having closed that, the president is compelled to resume military operations and escalate, not only to restrict the capacity to disrupt shipping in the Straits of Hormuz, but also the ballistic missile capacity that struck our troops in Muwafaq al-Sati in Jordan over the weekend. And in the end, I think what we can be encouraged by is that Iran has very little capacity and capability left. And if they escalate, the United States has rungs in the ladder which are completely beyond the reach of Iran and their surrogates in Yemen, Ansar Allah or the Houthis, which you'll recall were striking up to a dozen vessels a day at one time until the United States launched a sustained campaign to reduce their capability, which could be in the offing as well.
All right. I want to bring in what Iran's foreign minister had to say about this. They will clearly respond. He says our doctrine is clear. Eye for an eye. Any aggression against Iran, including our infrastructure, will compel a powerful and decisive response. Those who contribute to such aggression, whatever the kind of support, will also be considered as legitimate targets. They say a powerful and decisive response. What do they have left? We continue to see these ballistic missiles go out. We know that they reached farther than we had estimated before this current conflict had erupted. You talk about the fact that we can have overwhelming force against them. Are we in some ways pulling punches?
Well, it's tall talk from someone who was crawling from the rubble of a strike that killed their supreme leader. The same period of time, 40% of their military leadership was eliminated. So I don't know exactly how much capacity they have. They certainly can't defend themselves. Do they have launchers and ballistic missiles left? Yes, because unfortunately, previous diplomatic agreements allowed them to expand their program at an exponential rate. That's been reversed significantly. And so no system is 100% perfect. And so the occasional missile could and has gotten through. But the good news is they have far less capacity to do so. And the United States definitely has the capability. Certainly, if Israel were to rejoin, would accelerate it even further should Iran continue to expand the scope of the conflict.
Sure, if Israel was to rejoin, oh my God. I'm sorry. I just can't keep doing this shit. I can't keep hearing about this bullshit.
Day one in the David preliminary hearing was dramatic and bone-chilling. There were photos shown of Celeste's decomposed body found in the trunk of David's car, and her family was there to watch. They were warned that they may want to look away. They did not, although Celeste's mother actually grabbed her hand and put it over her face at one point. It was gruesome. They showed her body cut up. There was a head and a torso intact. The limbs were cut off. The finger that had the SHHH had been removed, and they still haven't found it, but it correlates to the same tattoo that's on David's finger. And that was a key part of the evidence here. But the body was so badly decomposed that they could not identify it. As a matter of fact, just so you know, we got a tip while the police were trying to figure out who was in that car, who was the victim. We got a tip that it might have been Celeste, and we contacted Celeste's mother, and Celeste's mother told us about the color of that tattoo as well as the SHHH. We called the police and told them, and they seemed to have connected dots at that point, and that's when they made the identification the next day. That's how badly the body was decomposed. Now, this is very important. The police are saying that David, there is surveillance video on July 29th, 2025, of David driving that Tesla and parking it where the car was ultimately found with the body inside. And according to the police, that car was never moved after that. For a month, was never moved after that. So the body, at least based on the evidence, it seems, was decomposing in that car for at least a month and maybe longer. Now, there is other surveillance video. There is a body cam video from February of 2024 when Celeste's parents had reported her missing, and they pointed to David as the person who might know her whereabouts. The police came to David's house, and they questioned him. They showed him a picture of Celeste. David's reaction was, I thought she was 18. At that point, and again, February 2024, the police said, no.
I want to see that body cam.
Day one in the David.
Robert Greenway, former Deputy Assistant President Trump.
Where's that body cam at? Let's see.
Okay, folks, I'm back from the David hearing, the preliminary hearings, not the trial, even though it would be easy to call it the David trial, or, you know, this is like the preamble to the David trial. The David trial will happen eventually, but these are the preliminary hearings. It's scheduled to be 3 days back-to-back of very intense testimony and evidence that's basically going to determine if this thing goes forward to trial, what the stakes are, what the plan is, where everything is going to go from here, and I'm going to tell you the whole story. I might break this video into parts, or I might just do one long video, depending on how long I go for. I haven't got too long. I need to get an early night to try and get back down there and get back in there. But it was an absolutely insane day. Some of the things I saw today, I'm never going to forget. And I'm never going to be the same. What I saw in that courtroom...
Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
...was just some of the most horrible stuff I've ever seen in my life, to be honest with you. It's actually sad. I feel for a lot of people that were in that courtroom.
Probably Wisconsin.
Some of that stuff today, because... it was shocking. I touched on it on a couple of videos that I filmed outside the courthouse, but now I'm sort of here back in my natural surroundings. It really does sit heavy on me. What we saw in that courtroom was nothing short of despicable, pure evil. We saw images of what was in that bag in the front trunk of that Tesla. We saw everything, and it was horrendous. It was absolutely horrendous. The stuff that we saw, I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. And the fact that Celeste's parents were in the courtroom for that was just even more shocking, and breaks your heart that they have to go through this. And whoever did this, allegedly, David's the man in the dock, on trial, soon to be on trial, having a hearing for this. You know, whoever did this needs to be put away forever. It's absolutely disgraceful that a child was left in that state. And I'm going to break it all down to you, but that really was the headline of this incident. They showed us, black and white, not black and white, but full color images, damn near 4K. But the facts were black and white. Pure evil it would take to do that to any other human being, let alone an innocent child. So,
yeah, the link in my bio should still be good. If it's not, we can send you a new one.
I'm going to walk you through everything that happened today, everything that I saw. I might even be able to pull up some things because I made notes that were so meticulous. I tried my best to document absolutely everything from key conversations, back and forths, key details of what was going on in the actual public lottery for the tickets. I didn't win the public lottery. Shout out to some of the people that did win, Mark the Shark, and some other people there. I don't know if they want to be named. But I didn't win the public lottery, but I did join the standby list. And I was lucky enough to be given the opportunity, as I believe I was the 4th or 5th person on the standby list. They squeezed me in right at the last minute. I was probably one of the last people, like me. I think it was me and one other person that was full, right down to the wire. I'm very, very grateful for the courthouse staff for being understanding, for allowing independent media in there. A lot of people, myself included, were a little bit upset that it seemed like the mainstream media were kind of all given their press passes and sort of behind the scenes. And independent media didn't get a shot, but I did get a shot, and I respect that. I'm really grateful for that. I got down there early. I got on the standby media list, and I was allowed in right by the skin of my teeth. So hopefully that's the case. If that's not the case, then I will be doing a kind of extended live stream and basically giving you guys the news from everybody else as it comes in. But basically, what was interesting is that I was kind of waiting outside to wait for my fate, find out if I was actually getting into the trial. So the Deputy DA, Beth Silverman, arrived with a very large security detail. She was looking like, you see them videos of like DJ Khaled's got security all around him. She came in like that, and it was pretty crazy to see. Come to find out, it sounds like part of that was because she was, she was bringing in Celeste's family, Celeste's parents. Celeste had a civil lawyer with them as well. I believe they had an interpreter and some other security that was provided by the building. So they came in looking like just presidential, to be honest with you. It was, I don't want to say a show of force, but it was definitely, they were rolling deep. And they came looking like they were ready to do the business, to be honest with you. So that was kind of going on. It really was carnage, people trying to get in on the public lottery. And shout out to the courthouse staff. I was thinking, this lottery is going to be, it was so well organized, so respectful, so genuine and honest, and there wasn't any tomfoolery that went on. I really respect that. So there was just, a lot of people waiting outside. There were a lot of people that unfortunately did get turned away. Some mainstream media got turned away. There were some mainstream media outlets that were trying to get 2 people in the room. A lot of them were told you've only got 1 person. You can either swap out or that's it. And some people were very disappointed. There was a lot of arguing outside the outside the courtroom, where it was really outside. He was really cool. We had a really good, but I don't think he got in. In the courthouse, there were very, very strict instructions. No outside communications, no tweeting, no recording, nothing like that. The best you could do is take notes on your laptop. That's as far as it would go. I was there with my notebook for the first half. Was able to get my laptop in the second half. It was excuse me. It was a long, stressful, tiring day. I'm actually exhausted, okay? It was a lot. We was in there non-stop, all right? And I've been up since early. So excuse me if I yawn a couple times through this, all right? But I'll try not to. I'll try not to. My apologies. I really couldn't help at that time. So basically, very strict instructions. In good spirits like he has done the past few times. Now, he was in his orange jumpsuit, and he was in his shackles. But before we got to the full-blown preliminary hearing, the judge basically said, we can have a little mini hearing at the start that basically we can just deal with the shackles. And they had a little mini hearing. It was a shackling motion, they called it, right? They had a shackling to say, when it comes to a trial, it kind of, in front of the jury, it can kind of taint the jury's idea. It was 13. It didn't play out quite like we
Come on, bro. Get to the meat and potatoes. Fuck.
These 2 investigating officers would be the witnesses. And Beth asked if there were any additional witnesses for the case in the crowd. Beth basically pointed out, ironically, that David's got kind of 3 people in his legal counsel. On that particular day, she was completely on her own. There was a little bit of controversy. I heard sort of some people in the crowd sort of saying, Beth Silverman, there's no scheduled testimony. I've attended trials before, both when I used to want to be a lawyer when I was a teenager. If you didn't know that, that's why this is quite interesting for me. But also, other criminal trials that I've attended are just out of interest, and I've sat in a public gallery in the UK before. There's other trials I've attended for reasons that aren't important. But anyway, basically, Beth would make it clear all of the exhibits that she would be presenting are pre-marked. They had an order. There was a little bit of dispute about the order. It sounded like maybe the attended there with another deputy and basically explained exactly her. He believed David when he said he didn't really know her, and confirmed that David would be showing pictures of her on his phone, including like a yearbook photo or a yearbook style photo. And basically, apparently it had other kids around it with her name, and they showed the screenshot of him showing the image on his phone to the officers, quite literally. And they also said that David showed the missing persons flyer. Now, this was really interesting because essentially, what's really odd about that is that we saw the body cam footage of the police pulling up and talking to him, and it didn't go down the way I expected. I'm not trying to give David bail or give David a positive spin on this, but it sounded when we heard secondhand the media reports that this would be brought up in the trial as, you know, they came to the house and they warned David and said, you know, you're messing with a 13-year-old girl. But it didn't play out like that. The way that it played out was, I'll play by play explain to you exactly what happened piece by piece. But at this point, they were describing what's happening in the upcoming body cam before they'd actually shown it. But essentially what happened then was, you know, they kind of went into the property and they were being pretty nice to David, a little bit suspicious. He was being very cooperative. I would say a little bit too cooperative. He was talking a little bit too fast. But the cops said outright they believed that he didn't really know this girl, that he didn't really know much about her, didn't really know what was going on with her. He even showed them the missing persons poster. So David was wearing like a brown bonnet, and you've seen this guy in a bonnet so many times. I can't lie, the bonnet's not helping the situation. But basically, it was that yearbook picture of Celeste that was shown. It was another picture of her in like a Batman hoodie, and the missing persons poster that we've kind of seen a lot of times. So we see if I can find you the exact one. So this was the exact missing persons poster that they showed in court. I actually wrote down. So he showed them this. It didn't have this bit at the bottom where it says age 13, height and weight. So I think this was an updated version of the poster that was shared in June. But this top half of the poster, so everything above where it says her name, and I just wrote in my notes, it was her on a blue background and the red background and then a plain background in the hoodie. I basically explained that I basically wrote down in my notes what missing poster this was so that I could go back and find it on memory. So this is what David showed on his phone to the officers, said, oh, I've seen this missing poster of her going around. And so he was there and he's got with his brown bonnet basically showing them this. So the cop says he informed David that she was 13. Now, when we actually saw the footage, it wasn't quite as cut and dry as we thought. So both of the cops searched David's house with his consent. They were like, can we have a look around? He's like, yeah. He was like, yeah, completely. He was completely cooperative through and through, to be honest with you. So the cops said that when they searched the house, they were looking for any proof that a female had been there. They said they were looking for makeup, hygiene products. They said that they didn't find any of that stuff, but they did say David had a bunch of Hello Kitty stuff, which they thought was maybe a little bit sus. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. I got a few Hello Kitty pieces of my own knocking around, all right? I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's just, I think it's cute, all right? I don't want to compare myself to David.
You think it's cute?
David, now, having a little bit of Hello Kitty merch in your house that a girl's left behind, or you've brought a little, you know what I'm saying, a little Hello Kitty plushie because it's cute. Like, I bought a Hello Kitty plushie from the Hello Kitty Chucky little horror zombie plushie from Universal last time I went there. I just thought it was a cute, fun little throw pillow. Got that on my couch, okay? Now, that's not proof of a crime, but...
You are a man, Trap Lore. Why the fuck are you buying Hello Kitty shit? I don't go to the store and see a Hello Kitty symbol and think, oh, that's cute. I'm gonna get that and throw it on my couch, this little pillow. It's a pillow. Hello Kitty, so cute. Get the fuck out of here, man. Oh my god. I mean, I got shit like this around here, right? Like for my daughters, like this is one of her shirts. Right? But what the fuck, bro? You're a grown-ass man.
The officers did say that that was the only thing, because they didn't find any makeup, they didn't find any hygiene products, no feminine products in the house. All there was a bit of Hello Kitty merch, and that's not probable cause to believe anything, right? Might be a little bit cringe, all right, and I'll admit that, but it is not proof of anything. So David explained to them it was an artist home. Lots of people come and go from this building. People come here to record. And the cop actually reached out and spoke with the Riverside sheriffs during the search. So the sheriff's office from Riverside that actually got them to go around there and have this conversation, they were in touch, and they did speak in separate kind of conversations to the officer that was there. And, you know, David kind of, I'm not going to lie, David was like, bigging himself up a bit. He was explaining, yeah, I'm an indie pop artist.
Gaydar just
the cops had never heard of him before. There was like a lady deputy that was there that was sort of talking to, sort of sweet talking David, while the other cop was sort of doing the search. And David's kind of like, yeah, I'm an indie pop singer. Yeah, you can look me up. Yeah, I just came back from Australia on tour. He kind of like, he fluffing himself up a bit. I'm not going to lie to you, okay? So they both were wearing body-worn video cameras, and we did see the body cam footage in full. They took photos of David's ID and the photos of Celeste from his phone. So Beth basically presented the full DVD of the body-worn video. So all of this was basically an explanation of what we were about to see. And then Beth basically said, let's load up the DVD. It's 10.5 minutes, and here's the transcript. Let's watch the whole thing. So they loaded it up, and we watched the whole body cam footage in the courtroom. So I'll explain to you play by play how that body cam played out. And I wonder one day that'll probably get freedom of information. Really, I was on tour. I thought he sounded super nervous to begin with, and then he gets a little bit more confidence as the interaction goes on. I'd say David spoke very fast in the body cam footage. They're asking him questions like, when did you last speak? He's like, oh, last week, or I just got back from Australia. So I believe he did tell them that he had spoken to her last on the 13th of February. Again, he had that information ready to go quick.
Yeah, man, join our Discord, man.
Time answer. 13th February, like he was quick time with the answer. So he explained to them that they met at the end of 2021 on Discord, said outright it was like a video game chat room, and that they'd continue to communicate on Discord, Instagram, Facebook, but mainly on Discord. That's where they met specifically, on Discord through a video game chat room. They basically asked him if he has any tattoos, and I didn't actually hear the response to that. David even offers the cop like a drink from his fridge, and they're not interested. They basically asked, you know, Celeste's cell phone number. He gives it over. He gives several numbers for her, and then basically says, look, the only time I ever met her was on November the 12th, 2023, at the beach. And he said an address where the beach was, where he met them. Again, he had all this information ready to go, straight off the top. So he gave like a more recent phone number for her. He's like, oh, this is the last number I communicated with her on. And he was being very cooperative. Now, knowing what we know now, it's easy to be more suspicious. But at the time, the cops possibly just thought that this guy's super cooperative. He's given all the info. He's probably worried about her. Probably thinks he's in some weird shit, even having an interaction with this girl. And he says, oh, I've got a picture of her. I can show you a picture. If you're looking for her, she's missing. I'll show you a picture of her. He was quick on his feet with it.
Hold up.
So notably, throughout the property, there's recording plaques like, you know, million record sold, platinum record, gold record plaques all over the wall. Not necessarily all his. To be honest, it looked like a lot of other artists. I couldn't say I recognize an artist, but I did see plaques of artwork that clearly was not artwork that I've ever seen from his catalogue, especially not that early in his career in February of 2024. So from there, he explained, we met a couple of years ago. We spoke on and off. They asked if she knows if she frequents the area.
Updated on my channel too. Hold up.
That was one of the answers where I'd say he looked the most nervous. When they said, do you know if she frequents this area in West Hollywood? He's like, oh, no, I don't know. That was sort of like where he was looking a bit sus and a bit scared, because to be honest, he probably didn't know how to answer that one. He probably didn't think of that one, because it's like, sounds like she
dude, oh my god, on YouTube settings for oh my god, dude, I cannot believe it. So when you go to your YouTube and you go to customize channel, I updated the link, by the way, bro. It says pronouns. Says optional, add your pronouns. Dude, what is this world coming to, for fuck's sake, man? I can't keep doing this anymore, bro. I can't keep doing this anymore. Welcome in, Christopher. Much love, bro. Oh, yo, Skippy, you got me fucked up, bro. I just seen your little thing from back where you did AI to make a See Me Now poster. It says See Me Now. Bro, now you're with all the other haters, bro. That's fucked up, Skippy. Bro, I cannot believe you just did that, bro. It's See Me Now, not See Me Now. And no, that is not AI's depiction of my name, because I have made AI-generated photos with my name, and that is not what it says. Skippy, you are. I love you, but if we ever meet in person,
the area. It sounds like she frequented a couple of them properties. So I feel like that was one where he was like not prepared for.
I know, me too, Gator. I can't stand the whole pronoun thing. Like, bro, fuck your pronouns.
That, but it flew under the radar. So David said outright, oh, she told me she was 18. That's what he said. And then he said to the cops, he said this, he volunteered this information. People have been telling me she's 13, but she said she's 18. And so he basically said, yeah, they're saying that the yearbook picture that I've got on my phone was taken a year before, like, I met her. And so I'm thinking, he didn't say this, but it's like, he was sort of inferring, it's like, oh, she told me she was 18, and this yearbook picture of hers going around, and I heard it was taken a year before, and like, maybe I was 17. He doesn't say 17, but that's sort of what he's inferring.
Yeah, we gotta get more members in the Discord chat, bro, for sure. We've had some people, but some people have had to be booted because
Robert Greenway, former deputy.
I also want to put this up on the screen as we talk about,
because you know, some people are a little.
Relax. Number one, you've got minors in here.
All right, officers traumatized by worst house of horrors they've ever seen. Officers traumatized by worst house of horrors they've ever seen. Let's see if this is a banger. But yeah, man, everybody needs to join the Discord and get up in there, bro. We need to grow the community in there. I feel like that's a core strategy on how to build a good community on your YouTube channel is the Discord.
You can catch a child charge. Be nice to my officers, and I'm here for an unrelated incident. Where do we get this?
It's you two as adults. You're responsible to make sure those necessities are there or get it. Call someone, call DCF, call somebody, say, hey, we need help.
That house is horrible. The feces is all the way on top of the toilet, full of poop, on top of poop, on top of poop. So it's probably one of the worst ones I've seen. And for me to tell you that, get ready.
On January 23rd, 2024, officers from the Bunnell Police Department responded.
Yeah, never mind. We're not going to do this video, bro. I just can't. When it comes to kids, bro, I thought it'd be like a fucking bunch of dead bodies or something. But when it comes to kids, I can't do it, bro. I can't.
One of the Tate brothers' lawyers mentioned you by name. Do you have a plan to get involved with the extradition challenge that they have been...
Mention me by name? The US Secretary of State that the media have said will have the final decision on Andrew Tate getting extradited has actually been asked about the situation now.
They have been...
Mention me by name?
Yes.
Oh.
Mention me by name? Oh. Jesus. Yeah. I mean, so we all know that Andrew Tate was talking about, you know, when he was first on house arrest, oh, you know, I got a really good relationship with Barron Trump, and I talked to him, and hopefully once I can leave and go to America, we can connect. So it seemed like in the beginning he was having high hopes of, you know, being able to get in the circle with the Trump family or whatever. But it seems like now that's not the case. Let's see what these people have to say and what the update is. Shout out Festify for the channel. Let's see what's going on with the Andrew Tate situation.
One of the Tate brothers' lawyers mentioned you by name. Do you have a plan to get involved with the extradition challenge that they have been...
Mention me by name? The US Secretary of State that the media have said will have the final decision on Andrew Tate getting extradited has actually been asked about the situation now.
They have been...
Mention me by name?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
No, look, that extraditions, I don't know the details of this particular case. I've been overseas, but I mean, I know who you're talking about. I just don't know the details of it. These cases have a process that they go through in the courts. My understanding is that they're involved in that judicial process. And so that'll play itself out at this point. And there's no role for us to play at this moment or maybe ever in that regard. But I'm not going to opine on something that's still working through a legal process. They have no role to play now in sorting the situation, probably ever. And Trump will now allow the Tate brothers to be extradited to Britain. It says the US president will not step in to block the pair's return to the UK after they were arrested in Miami on new sex abuse charges. And this is the worst news Andrew Tate could get, because he's gone on rants and podcasts constantly saying that this is...
I don't know, tell me, do you guys think that these are trumped up charges, or do you think that there's some legitimacy to this? I don't know. I feel like you can never remake your first impression, and when they first arrested him, and they could have, if they could have found something, they would have, and they just didn't. So I feel like this is just, especially with the interview that's been released from Jack Neal, like the emergency interview, it's gonna be interesting.
It's a politically motivated attack, and he's built up his political connections in America, but absolutely none of them could step in, even if they wanted to at this point, and save him. And Trump doesn't want to get involved at all. There's only one person now that can save Andrew Tate, or one country.
And it turns out Kamala admits that we move the fucking needle. That is a flex, bro.
And if you watched a new podcast that Andrew Tate just dropped, this 3 hours long, in that podcast he actually said that he played a chess move which will prevent the UK from extraditing him completely.
But I think the Brits are in a quagmire, because like Moby Dick, in their haste to get hold of me, they didn't quite understand the complexities of extradition and also the brutal inefficiency of Romanian law. Because the Brits tried to extradite me, and the warrant has been satisfied. I will be extradited when my Romanian case is complete. My Romanian case is on a prosecutor's desk. If the prosecutor closes the case, Romania owes me $1 billion. So it's in the prosecutor's interest to keep the case open on his desk, a case he can't fix, until he retires. Because if he closes it, they owe me $1 billion. And the UK can't get me as long as that case is open. So the UK are pissed, calling the Romanians saying, close the case if you don't have a case. And the Romanians are saying, we're not saying we don't have a case. We're saying it's difficult to fix, but we're going to try because if they close it, they owe me $1 billion.
It gets really complicated when multiple countries are involved with different legal proceedings, but what Andrew Tate is saying is he's got a case in Romania. That was the first case, and they have already said they will extradite him to the UK once it's over, but also they cannot convict him of any crimes there, and he is counter-suing them for a large amount of money if they don't find him guilty. So it's in the best interest of the Romanian government not to close this case, because as long as it's ongoing, they haven't lost it.
So the UK, when James Altmaier wrote to them, were like, we can't technically do that legally because we've already tried to extradite him and the extradition warrant has been satisfied. So now what happens when I fly around the world, like I was just in Hong Kong, is that the Foreign Office of the UK call the hotel and try and get me kicked out of the hotel. That's how petty and pathetic they are. The owner of the Rosewood Hong Kong, which is the top ranked hotel in the world, by the way, number one, it won in 2026 the best hotel in the world. The owner of the hotel is a friend of mine. And he came to me and said, you will not believe the British government just called me and told me that you're a criminal and that you have an active extradition warrant out of Romania and that we should kick you out of this hotel. I said, the British government has time to call hotels and try and make me, I mean, what does that do? It doesn't extradite me. It just inconveniences me. I have to go get another hotel. They are spending government money trying to inconvenience me by getting me kicked out of hotels because they can't extradite me because the Romanians won't close the case because the Romanians owe me money because I haven't done anything.
If you completely support Andrew Tate or you absolutely hate him and think he deserves life in prison, one thing everyone can agree on is how incompetent the Romanian government are. They first arrested him through the COVID pandemic when this guy was blowing up. All these years later, he's been living in their country and still haven't convicted him of a single crime. Everything gets thrown out in Romania. And then still this month, they're saying they got a new case now and they're going to try it again. This could be going on forever.
The only girl who's ever accused me is Girl A. Girl A, I'm going to talk about her history in a minute. I go back to house arrest. And finally, because after these 3 years, I've never had a trial. I've never had a chance to present evidence. Or anything. I've never had a chance to say, oh, by the way, do you know Girl A accused 10 other men of sexual assault? Do you know Girl A accused her father of sexual assault? Do you know Girl A is on psychiatric drugs? Do you know Girl A has been sectioned? Do you know, I don't have a chance. I have the evidence, but I've never had a chance to present it.
What was that last part you said? Girl A has been
sectioned.
What's that mean?
Taken to a mental institution against her will.
Got it.
Their latest claim against Andrew Tate included 30 to 35 victims with significant financial exploitation claims, and they still have not put them behind bars. They've had Andrew Tate on house arrest where they want him and back and forth from court for this over 100 times.
Never had a trial. I haven't beaten a trial. I haven't gone to trial and won. No, I've never been to trial ever. Every single nation state which came out with this garbage, which is pushed by George Soros funded NGOs, has attempted to find evidence to put me in jail, and they never, Romania, England, never found enough evidence to even get to trial. 6 years I've been waiting to prove my innocence, and I have never, ever had a trial. What I've had is accusations. What I've had is Twitter detectives thinking they know more than judges.
The only thing that could come into fruition is that the Romanian government and the UK government come together and work something out where the UK proceedings go ahead first.
What I've had is people bringing up decade-old videos saying I said something which was uncouth 10 years ago. But a comedian can make a joke on YouTube pretending he's racist or a cowboy. It doesn't make him racist or a cowboy. YouTube videos are not real. You need victims, you need medical records, you need proof, you need a date, a time, a where, a when. You need people to testify against you. You need evidence. I have never even had a trial ever. And I've been begging my lawyers, get me to trial. Take this to trial. I want to prove I'm innocent. Let's get all the facts out there. Let's go to trial. Let's show that I'm completely innocent from head to toe. And no nation state has ever managed to even get me in court.
The amount of different outcomes that can happen here is kind of bizarre. We could also be in a situation here where two countries kind of battle over Andrew Tate to have him. We could see the US, through their relationship with the UK, extradite Andrew Tate to the UK, and the Romanian government could come to the UK and say extradite him back to Romania to finish this, but that's where they could come to some sort of understanding on what's going to happen. But their arrest obviously prompted calls from the prominent Republicans and some figures for Mr. Trump to intervene amid the claims the brothers were victims of politically motivated witch hunt, similar to the president said he faced. But a US official told the Telegraph that the White House would not be involved in the case, which is expected to drag on for months, saying the White House has no involvement and no feelings on the issue. Kamala Harris obviously lost in the election run against Donald Trump, and one of the wildest things is she wrote a book, and after she contributed, one of the major factors to her loss in that run is figures like Andrew Tate constantly supporting Donald Trump. That's her own words in her own biography.
Yeah, Andrew Tate and Myron Gaines. Yeah, I mean, excuse me. I mean, I agree, Gator, and I've had false accusations against me as well. So that's why, like, when I look at this, it's like, dude, when they took him to jail the first time, if they could have found something, they would have. I mean, they tore everything apart. They took all of his possessions. And when, you know, when the elite want to do something to you, they're going to do it. It's kind of suspicious that nothing did happen the first time. Now, now all of a sudden, Andrew turns down this $50 million offer to shut him up. Then he does the Jack Neal cast right after, like the day of, and says, upload this if they arrest me or kill me. Like, a lot of stuff is odd. with this whole situation. And I mean, people are awake. I mean, I think people see right through it. Is there, we'll have to see evidence, innocent till proven guilty, but I think they're just doing this because they're mad at him.
And it turns out Kamala admits that we moved the fucking needle. That is a flex, bro. 2025, write it in stone, because they're going to delete everything off the internet. They're going to delete it all off Wikipedia. Write it in stone. Go to Mount Rushmore. Andrew Tate defeated Kamala Harris. He did it. Even though they were putting him in jail, locking him in his house. Guys, don't think when I go out of jail and I was in house arrest, I wasn't told to shut up. Andrew, if you shut up, if you don't say anything, this will all go away. Just wait for the election. Wait for Trump to lose. Wait for Kamala to win, and we'll let you off. All you have to do is sit and be quiet. We'll let you free from your house if you just live a quiet life. No, they raid my house again. Drag me back to jail. Still don't shut up. Still fight back. Still fuck you. They tried everything. Unfazed. Last bullet. Kept going viral. Kamala Harris's whole campaign fucking failed. It failed. It failed because of me. I did it. Me. And she admitted it. She admitted it in black and fucking white. I affected our presidential election. I did.
And that's why we're seeing Sneako, who obviously at one point was getting along with Andrew Tate, completely mock him. They've had a falling out, but he's saying all that sucking up to Donald Trump and the Trump associations you built have been all for nothing because they're not even coming to support you now.
The reason they did that, thank you for the sub, 90. The reason that the Tates never criticized Trump is because deep down, they were really hoping that Trump would go and save them if they got arrested and if they were called to be extradited to the United Kingdom. Well, look, it didn't work, stupid. Now you're arrested. Trump's not going to save you. All that twerking you did, all that begging you did. Look now. You thought that you could sacrifice your own religion, you could sell out your own people, your own faith, apparently. It didn't even work. Trump's not going to save you. All that slurping you did. They destroyed their reputation by throwing me under the bus, by saying they have tech teams in Israel. Sneako did it. Sneako played the song. Please don't arrest me. Well, now you got arrested, you stupid idiot. You refused to call out Trump, even though he's owned by Jewish supremacists, hoping that he would save you from your extradition to the UK, and he didn't. So you sold out, you destroyed your reputation, you sold out your faith, you threw me under the bus, and you still got arrested. Anybody still defending this too? Now that there's charges of them holding indecent images of a child? I don't know what you have to say, but I don't know how you can keep credibility with them. I don't know if you think this was a Matrix attack. If it was a Matrix attack, wouldn't Elon Musk, the trillionaire, tied up with Mossad and Netanyahu and speaking to Netanyahu regularly by Netanyahu's admission, wouldn't Elon Musk be calling for Tate's deportation too?
It is a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know. I want to see the evidence on the CP because it's like, I feel like that might have been put in the language to make things seem worse than they are. They're just allegations. But I feel like Sneako going back and everything kind of just like he's just making a fool of himself in a way. I agree with him on some things, but for me too, like the whole song situation, bro, it's a song. Who gives a fuck, bro? Like everyone should have just stayed 10 toes down. It's a song. Deal with it. Like. It's crazy how a song can ruin someone's life or make someone feel threatened or make a group of people feel threatened. It's just ridiculous.
Bit bizarre because obviously the situation's happened in the US. He's actually maintained a relationship with close associates to Trump. It said before the arrest last week, the brothers spent several days in Washington, D.C., hosted by the Trump envoy. They were seen in the halls of Capitol Hill enjoying one of the city's most exclusive private members club. The former modeling scout who introduced to President Melania invited the Tates to a summer party in July 15. They didn't know the exact purpose of his trip, but he spoke to Andrew Tate 15 minutes in 2 days. But more importantly, the night before, the Italian-American businessman accompanied the pair to an exclusive private members party near the White House, which is also often attended by high-level politicians.
Because both Andrew and Tristan Tate have spent the last few years trying to build bonds with the Trump administration and even with members of President Donald Trump's own family. For example, the New York Times reported last year that Andrew Tate has been in calls on Zoom with Trump's youngest son, Barron Trump. Donald Trump Jr. also called the charges against the Tate brothers absolute insanity on the social media platform X. That's the original charges from a few years ago. It should be stressed that the two brothers strenuously deny all the charges against them, although they are now facing criminal investigations in both the United Kingdom and Romania. This is kind of a big test for the Trump administration because Donald Trump spent the last election campaign really courting the manosphere. He went on several manosphere-related podcasts with allies of the Tate brothers, and the Tate brothers have kind of boasted about this relationship with Donald Trump. And that's interesting because with this extradition procedure, the ultimate say-so, whether they get extradited or not, is Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who of course works directly for Donald Trump. So this is really a huge test of this supposed relationship between Andrew Tate, the manosphere, and the administration of Donald Trump. So we're really going to be watching to see what happens.
Among the other...
I mean, come on, bro. Donald Trump pardons Kodak Black and helps Kodak Black out, but yet won't... Come on. Help Tate out, bro.
Tate Allies is actually Mr. Trump's former personal lawyer who was forced to quit as New Jersey's top prosecutor in December. She told Andrew Tate on a podcast last January, "I got your back." JD Vance, the vice president, also follows both brothers on X.
James Uthmeyer, something like this. So he opened an investigation into me the second I land as an American citizen. saying I'm a human trafficker and I'm a bad person and all this garbage. I expected to come home to a fucking hero's welcome. And I did a podcast with Candace Owens about that because even she said this is insane. You know what he did? He wrote to the Brits saying, do you want me to arrest him and send him to you? You got an active warrant. Do you want me to send him to you? I'll come get him and send him to you. He wrote to the Brits. And I'm sitting in Florida in Miami and I refuse to leave. So I keep tweeting, come get me, Ron. Come get me, James. Come get me. Come get me. Come get me. Because, Jack, I've lost my mind. I finally get free from this fucking mess. I come back to the country my father served for. And they fucking open a case on me and start saying I'm a human trafficker. Why? Because Romania said so, the country that can't even have an election? And now we're gonna repeat what they said like it means a fucking thing? I come to Florida where I'm suing girl A, and I'm attacked by the state? And I did a podcast with Candace on it because I was so flabbergasted. That piece of shit writes to the Brits.
One thing that's concerning Andrew Tate and why he's desperately fighting to get extradited, he's one of the most hated men in Britain in terms of the politicians. MPs all around the country and different people, different power have constantly called him out about the narratives and agendas he spreads online. He's being banned from schools. This is the country he's hated the most in, the UK.
After I called out Elon Musk for platforming extremism, Tate's followers immediately descended on me with the flood of abuse and harassment. That was not random. That was a deliberate attempt to silence an elected representative. I was bombarded with death threats, rape jokes and abuse from accounts both local and international. Then, the Tate brothers themselves came after me. Two men running from the most serious criminal charges, propped up by the world's most powerful leaders. And they targeted me, an elected representative from Northern Ireland, for daring to speak my mind. It wasn't even about them, it was about Musk. But it was a calculated attempt to silence an elected politician. I was, in their words, a nice target. A direct attack on democracy and this House itself. But this is not just about individuals, it is about democracy. We have seen a deliberate, organised effort to create an online environment where extremism flourishes, where intimidation becomes the norm, and where women, minorities and political opponents are driven out of public life.
Yeah, man, I don't know. Like I said, dude, what's going to happen with him? I'm curious on when he's going to get extradited and what's going to happen with the proceedings and how it's going to go. Because he's not in jail in Romania anymore. He'll be in jail in the UK. So... And the UK, we all know how corrupt they are, bro. Like, 100% corrupt. Allegedly, don't come arrest me now, okay? But, you know, it's pretty evident that they want him. They want him bad. They're mad at him. And it's because they all hate him there because they're all sissy, liberal people who are ruining their own country. And they don't like what Andrew Tate stands for, you know? So, it is what it is, man. We're going to have to see how it goes. But I'm going to get off stream, dude. I got to upload some videos that I took today. Hopefully they're better, because if not, we're just going to have to stop the dual streaming. Because they're not better, I'm sure it's the dual streaming that's messing up my videos. So I got to airdrop a few and get some of this shit going. So much love to everybody, man. Gator, Wisconsin, Skippy, Stacy wasn't here today. I appreciate you guys. Skippy, we're going to have to talk about that motherfucking AI generated picture you made, bro. It's a problem. Okay, it's a problem. Yeah, I don't know where do you get the approval rating though, bro? You know what I mean? I just don't. It's all show, bro. But anyways, I hope you guys have a good day, man.